Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, then there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Guns of Navarone, RMP, Troy Shuka, Bowsnail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster. So a massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. I'm going to hand over to whoever is in G Plus and Discord so we can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set it for today's live show.
So then he got kicked out of that union, went on his own, and then when he that went north or south, whatever you want to call it, he went back to the floor covering union, but in a different local, which it was a carpenters union, but it allowed him to install floors, and that pissed them off at the other union. So that's how he got that. I say because he's 2 cards short of a deck.
That's funny.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it got me going.
Yeah, I can't wait to get that amp back.
Yeah, I remember. I could actually relate to you about the anticipation and the excitement to get something like that back. Because I remember when I was building my first home stereo with my own money, that is, and because my parents had, like a console that had an 8-track player and a record player and stuff like that. It was made by Magnavox, and I still have it to this day, and it works. I told my dad I wanted it. So I bought all the replacement needles for it and things like that. So I decided I was going to go and get the stuff that I could afford. It was in the 70s, and you had the brands out there like Sansui and all these others. And so I got a pretty good unit, and I mean, it just blasted the house. And my dad and mom, turn down music. But I just can't wait to upgrade to something stronger.
I don't actually like music that loud. I very rarely listen to it loud.
Oh, I love music at all levels. There's some I need loud. There's some I want really soft. And my taste in music is so broad, it's ridiculous. I could be listening to opera one day, and I could be in rock, and then, Christian praise music the next day, and country. It doesn't matter. If it sounds good, I listen to it.
Hopefully be a bit busier today.
Yeah,
it's got a working Discord.
Hopefully. I mean, we'd like to get some back and forth if they want to, but I think just highlighting someone's, whatever someone's working on has been good, as well as each housekeeping question has been really good, because we just go into so much detail and everybody gets to say what they want to say. There's no one rumpusing anybody. It makes for a better show. I mean, whether the ballers come or not, I don't care, because whoever tunes into the show now gets an education and they can hear different points of view without all the drama.
Well, I completely agree, but by the same token, I do want the ability for them to have access, should they want access. In other words, I want the the Discord server to be accessible, and for somebody, should they be so inclined, to offer their opinion. But beyond that, that's all I want, them to have the option. The door is open.
Sure.
I don't care if you walk through it or not.
Well, you've always said all are welcome, and just because Discord didn't work yesterday, that doesn't mean that's changed. So it's working today. So we'll see if they come.
Yeah, but I don't care if they do or not, so long as the bar is open. It's like a bar
Yeah.
manager that's on a fixed salary. He doesn't care how many pints he sells that night. He's on a salary. So the door
Right.
opens, he makes sure the bar's clean, and all he wants is a nice, easy night. And I'm the same, right? If lots of people come in, that's a lot of work. You know what I mean?
Sure. Heck, if the mic rustles on my shirt, you catch it.
Yeah, I'd rather be concerned with whether or not people are overloading their mic. That's much less stressful.
Maybe I should plug in my bass guitar and throw a few hums at you.
Nah, probably end up getting copyright strikes.
Oh, don't worry, I don't know how to play anything.
Oh, then definitely not.
Yeah, wise move. The other hard thing for me, I mean, I love music and enjoy it a lot. The hard thing for me is to stay disciplined with that bass beat to keep the. So I listen to something that's got a lot of bass, and I try to copy it. But then when the other instruments come in and the guy starts singing, my fingers go to the guy singing and can't stay disciplined.
Right.
So hard for me.
It's a hearing phenomenon called masking. When there's a certain number of instruments, you can only focus on a couple of them at a time, so the others might as well not be there. It's the same reason why people will needlessly buy more expensive kit when they don't necessarily need it, because your memory's a couple of seconds at best for listening to something. If you don't hear a comparison to the same exact thing within a couple of seconds, you won't be able to tell any difference. Which is why engineers sit there all day playing the same thing over and over and over and over again. You know, comparing what.
That's why I got respect for singing bass players like Sting and the guy from Rush. That's not easy to do. And Lemmy, those guys sing and play individual notes. That's pretty hard.
Oh, I don't know about that. Some people are just naturally gifted with it. One of the courses, not that I was on the musicians course, but part of the performing arts course was separated into technical theatre, performing arts and music. So we were obviously all bundled together. And although I wasn't a musician, I was very much involved with what they were doing and what they did. And no, you know, for a lot of musicians, not at all. Like, it just seems like it comes completely second nature to them. Don't get me wrong, they all had to practice. They all had to learn new stuff. But some of them are just naturally talented at doing it. And it seems effortless. Some people who can't do it and train themselves to do it, it's not effortless. It's just as simple as that.
Oh, I'm not saying there's not some natural ability there, but you have to work on that. I had to. When I started playing Police songs, it was like totally different. I'm like, whoa, how am I going to do this now? And you had to work at it. Everything was offbeat from what he was singing. But I'm sure with time, you get it.
Sure, I understand. It's just a lot of these guys were training to be session musicians and stuff, so the sort of level that they were at was the ability to read off a piece of music and play it perfectly instantly. That was what they were sort of training to do, because that's what they were going to end up being paid for.
Yeah, my son has that ability. Like, he sat down and started playing the piano without a lesson. He just would listen to something and then find the keys. And I mean, just within a half an hour, he had the song down. Then he picked up a guitar and did the same thing to that. And it's like, okay, where did that gene come from? Because it's not in me. But my mom's side had it. And she was, into music and, piano and stuff. But I would have to put a long time towards it. It'd be the harder way for me. But I know it's possible. That's why I still mess around with it.
Indeed.
Just training the fingers just to be on the neck of the guitar. That takes a while there just to get those fingers working.
Yeah, we'll have to modify this conversation slightly if we're ever going to generate.
No problem. What do you want to talk about? Let's talk about purpose versus accidental purpose.
Wow, that's deep. Tell me more.
Well, the ballers come in here with an accidental purpose, and we say no. Purpose is not accidental.
An accidental purpose. Don't follow.
Yeah. Well, that's the ballers. You know, everything came from nothing. Everything kind of found itself to work out just the way it is. Evolution, all that crap.
Okay.
Yeah, but then we see order. We don't see chaos. We don't see an ear on someone's elbow. We don't see an elbow on someone's side of their head. We see an ear there. Guess what? You hear with it. I mean, it's just like there's design to the DNA, the code of life, the whole thing. Not accidental. Not chaos.
How profound.
It's simple. I know you're having fun with me, but it must be profound to an atheist who thinks we came from a rock. But then where did the rock come from, and how they learn how to give us an ear?
All right, get your own dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like I need reminding what yesterday's show is about, because it was technical issues, which although it's one of those I don't want to listen to the show back, because I dread, I'm paying only half attention to the actual show content because there's a technical issue. So those just think, I don't want to watch that back. Plus, it means it's just brings back a bad memory, so to speak, because it was a lot of work trying to figure out what the problem was for the entire live show.
Well, let's see. I'm looking at my notes from yesterday. If you want, I'll give you a few things I wrote down.
No, Adam came on towards the end.
What's that?
Adam was on towards the end, so he must have talked about something.
Yeah. Well, Neil said Hobo Fortress is a good band name.
Get that from Flat Earth Asshole. Who got that from Math Powerland. So photo or painting, then Homeless Tweakers Shelter or Moonlander. So yeah, Math Powerland and Flat Earth Asshole.
Yeah, and then Brian came on and shouted that gal that has the channel where she does some things with the coin at the table that disappears. And so you shouted her out. He had that, I guess she had a video about something 8 miles out that's getting the ballers all confused by the light drops from that tower that's supposed to be blinking red light for the planes. So I subscribed to that channel, but I haven't watched that video yet. Then we talked about angular size, diffraction limit, what gets in the way, waves, swells, weather, all that kind of stuff, perspective, which the ballers don't. Yeah, you went into that. You went into their Muppet vision, their side angle view.
Yes, I do remember now. It started off with talking about Tommy Hench and his balloon that was in a vacuum chamber and the gas filling the balloon equally in all directions because it becomes the container in that example. And then it moved on to the diffraction limit and begging the question, proving nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculators and their ignorance of angular resolution limits at distance.
Isn't it funny that now they want to bring in perspective after the black swan?
That's nice. Shame their targets don't change in angular size, because that excludes perspective.
Precisely.
They want to talk about it in the same way they want to talk about swift to bait and switch when they talk about refraction.
Yeah.
In fact, thinking about it, it's the same thing. They talk about refraction, and it's to hijack perspective when they're talking about a varying rate that's atmospheric. Well, okay, so you're saying there's a varying rate due to atmosphere, but the actual atmosphere you're going to apply has nothing to do with atmosphere. It has everything to do with the R value. So it's a bait and switch. In the same way, they're attempting to bait us with, well, this is an optical phenomenon. It's like, well, that doesn't get accounted for in your maths. Your maths is geometric now, isn't it? Ha ha ha.
Nice little clever trick of theirs, huh? To exchange 7/6R with actual refraction of the air.
Yeah, that's all the more skilled of the debaters who come here used to do. It's that getting that swindle without noticing, or without your opponent noticing. So swindling 7/6R for their normally quite concise and accurate description of actual atmospheric effects.
I remember hearing for the first time when they did that, and it was either you or QE that said, what kind of refraction is that? So just ask that question back. And, sheepishly, I think it was Rumpus. Well, that's a standard refraction. Oh, so 7/6R? So based on the radius, not the actual weather?
Yeah, but normally that's after them going into great detail about what looming is, or any atmospheric actual effect that they could demonstrate. And when demonstrated, it'll be done on a flat surface.
Exactly, right. Which is the only way refraction is seen.
Yeah, the point being that
I don't know what's so hard to understand about that. I mean, I've driven through Death Valley and different long roads, and the sun is shining, and looks like you're way out in the distance. There's a bunch of water, but it's the road, and it's the heat, and it's all that kind of refraction stuff, and everything looks blurry, low to the ground, and as your eyes go up and towards the sky, everything is nice. You don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, but in the same way, replica Ferrari sounds like a Ferrari, right? It's got the word Ferrari in it. And terrestrial refraction sounds like you're talking about refraction. Well, it's not. 7/6 of the radius. It's a presupposition that light bends at the rate of the radius, given whatever circumstances they need to modify it with, they'll change the value. But as in standard form, terrestrial refraction, 7/6 of the radius, has absolutely nothing to do with anything in the atmosphere that they'll also assume when they get to that particular stage of begging the question. The spherical shaped air, atmo being air, sphere being a fundamentalist religious presupposition.
Well, you said something there that's going to trigger something. So if they say light bends at the 7/6R, then how come there are days when it's more clear and better? So why is the light not bending at a consistent rate then?
Well, they just change whatever.
They
just change the rate right up to infinite over 6R.
Do they really?
Yeah, they just change it to whatever suits them in the moment. And when they were at the stage that they just said, well, of course we're allowed to beg the question of a sphere that's got a radius of 3959, and then obviously we can then assume that the radii gives you this bending light at the same rate, or any derivative that I say suits. Well, okay, we've debunked the radius now. So it's not like you can start with the premise. It's not like you can beg the question and then use that begging the question fallacy to bend the light at the rate of the begging the question fallacy you're trying to prove. None of that's plausible anymore. You can't do any of that.
No, but I thought they would be, or I thought I heard them say, well, that's just a little more messier day. You can't see as far, but it's still standard refraction.
Well, they'd need a radius then, wouldn't they? They'd need a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon to give him it. What's that? We need it to move it? Well, that's going to cause a problem given that you're using geometry and tangents, and you need the horizon to be physical. Shame it's not. Bye-bye globe.
Yeah, that's why Black Swan is the strongest argument, because no matter where they want to start on this, you have to take them back to your making the question with a sphere, because you don't have R.
Exactly. Gotta have that R value.
Well, definitely. I mean, when I looked into a little bit of geometry, because it wasn't interesting to me when I was a kid, but when I looked into it and saw what a diameter was and what a radius is and a secant and all these different terms and what a point is and all this stuff when I was learning about the sextant and all that. And, well, in a circle, you're going to have a radius because it's a circle. But now these guys are saying, well, we live on that circle. We live on that circle. In fact, it's a globe. And it's got a molten iron core, and it's got all this, all that. I go, well, you're begging the question. We know circles have a radius, but you haven't proved that we live on a circle. But the Black Swan proves we don't live on a circle.
Yeah, but circles, or spheres, have radii, as do circles. And if I just assert that because a circle's got a radius, we must have a radius, it sort of sidesteps the fact that I'm assuming that we're on a circle or sphere.
Right. So then show us your radius. Black Swan won't let him.
Yeah, they haven't got physical geometric sphere edge horizon anymore. So what are they going to show you? A non-physical bent line to a non-tangent point because it ain't physical. Well, that's useful when you've got to have it be physical and derive an R value from it with a straight line to it. Bummer. Black Swan.
Yeah, exactly. Let me give you a layman's version. So you've been telling us for 100+ years that the bottoms of buildings and boats disappear due to Earth curvature. Then when the Black Swan arguments is lock solid, and we assume with the Mollis Tollens, we even allow, you're begging the question to start it, it's not there to be seen or observed whatsoever because it's not at 1.22 miles at 1 foot observer height, where the blockage of these boats and buildings must start, no further than. So it's over.
Yeah, it's not a hill. There's no hill getting in the way. Well, you need there to be a physical obstruction, Earth curve, and there isn't. Bye-bye, globe. That's game over for you. You need the horizon to be physical. That's what your arguments are all based on. A physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon formerly known as Earth curve.
You know, they really hate it when you say Earth curve edge. They don't like that word edge.
I don't care. Tangent point. Oh, what do you mean edge? Tangent point. Physical. Blocking stuff. Don't like that, eh? Yeah, it's an edge. It's the top bit that gets in the way. Yeah? The bit that you're measuring from, how many feet and inches are missing? Well, up into what? Well, the edge that you used to claim was physical before we debunked it.
Beautiful.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Neil and 10th Man, together with Arwin in G+, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Morning to the functional Discord today. Excellent stuff. Very good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
We all willing from Discord to partake in a little bit of housekeeping? Check that in.
I'm game.
Osman.
Yes, Nathan.
Excellent. Very good to hear it. Any signs of a physical, geometric, sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
No evidence whatsoever.
Oh, but their whole religion's based on it. They need a physical sphere edge. They used to claim that it was blocking boats and buildings at a given feet and inches or meters value. What gives, man? No sphere edge? Well, then no globe.
I think they still claim it though, but when you ask them or point it out, they say they never claimed it. But that's just a lie, because they do still claim it.
It's required. It's part of their model. if you're going to reify a model into existence that has geometry at its base, then you need a geometric physical sphere edge to be Earth curvature. The horizon must be physical for you to assert it's blocking stuff at a given feet and inches value. What's that? I can just hear Tim in the distance. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Yeah, bye-bye, globe. It's game over. The horizon's not Earth curve. Should we all go home? I'm already at home, by the way.
You mean they can't discard with a major part of their model?
No, they just have to live with forever horrible cognitive dissonance while they tell you that there's a sphere edge getting in the way of this here boat. No one says we can see geometry. This building's blocked by 3 feet. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. I have to go through those sorts of motions, which must be very distressing for them. As a flat earther, it matters not to me.
But why are they even arguing then? If they can't show it, then it's not what they say it is.
Yeah, it's game over. The globe is indeed dead. We don't have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. Moving on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Come on, Discord.
It's over there. No, it's not. Just clouds.
Anyone in Discord?
What is the sun? What it is?
Perfect reply. I have no idea. I'm really sorry.
The visual side effect.
Of what?
We don't know.
How do you know it's a side
It has
effect
to
of it
be of
then?
something because there's energy involved and it has to come from somewhere.
You're very quiet, Arwin. Are you quite some distance from your mic or something?
Yeah.
No worries, as long as you're aware.
This better?
Yeah, miles better. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety specifically?
15-degree movement of the Earth? No. But of the luminaries, the sun? Yes.
Yeah, that's claimed to be a direct consequence of their assertion that Earth is turning underneath, right?
Yeah, they flip it around.
Well, that's Coriolis deviation that's being described there, though. 15 degrees an hour deviation as the Earth turns underneath these lights in the sky.
Yeah, but they have a big problem. If the Earth is turning underneath these big lights in the sky, that means anything unattached to Earth would also give us that same Coriolis effect.
You mean to say that if Earth was turning underneath to give us a Coriolis effect, I'd launch a drone on the equator and it would fly away from me at 1,000 miles an hour as I turned underneath it? Wow, that never happens, does it?
Nope. Another failed argument.
I had a question. Isn't the spin debunked when R gets debunked? Aren't they related? Isn't R? I mean, R's bases everything. They base everything on R, but it's spinning around in R. So you take away the R.
Yeah, when I specifically say an axis, it's the axis of their sphere that they say is turning. But no, you don't necessarily debunk axial rotation because you could have it as a roundabout. But the assertion is we're moving. The ground beneath your feet, with you attached to it, is supposed to be moving. And things not attached to it would exhibit a deviation. But it doesn't necessarily get debunked if you debunk R, no.
Gotcha.
It's in the top 3 for a reason. So Coriolis Effect is number 3 on the top 3 globe destroyers. Well, there's only a few aspects to the heliocentric model that are really crucial to it in terms of its description of how it functions and what we are standing on. And that would be that we are standing on a sphere, first and foremost. Hence, Black Swan is number 1. It debunks the Earth as a sphere and the radius that it's based upon, by way of assuming the radius and then showing how the horizon is beyond the geometric capabilities of a sphere. So we don't have a hill between us and anything. It's non-physical location. The horizon's not Earth curve. So that's why that's number 1. Number 3, Coriolis Effect. It's asserted we're turning, and therefore Earth as a sphere turning exhibits 15 degrees an hour deviation as we're attached to the spinning reference frame, non-inertial, watching things in the inertial reference frame like footballs or bullets drift because we're turning underneath them. But that would mean that a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA would only take an hour and a half because Earth would be turning underneath it for us to be standing on it watching the plane seem to drift at 15 degrees an hour precisely as they assert it does. And because we don't see that effect, we debunk any notion that there is this 15 degrees an hour deviation or Coriolis effect. because we'd see it, and we don't. So somewhere sandwiched in between, I might as well ask it now, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container? And the purpose of the question is because we have gas pressure, we definitely know that's true, but it requires containment. It's the antecedent required to have gas pressure. And yet their Earth in a sphere is in an open system, vacuum with gas pressure not filling it. So any evidence that that's even feasibly possible, bearing in mind it stands in violation of the second law of thermodynamics, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Well, the gravity is not sufficient to prevent the gas from escaping. Isn't that exactly what Rumpus said?
Oh, I see. The gas is insufficient to hold the gas. The gravity is insufficient to hold the gas there.
Yes.
I see. So, quote Rumpus, gravity is insufficient to hold the gas there. End quote. Thank you very much. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Evidence of gravity? Well, a piece of evidence would be that it would not be sufficient to keep the gas there.
That was quick.
No, actually, that would not be evidence for it because we have gas pressure. So even if there was a gravity here, it's not really relevant because something else is keeping the gas here. So again, gravity just becomes superfluous like it always is. It's just a conjured concept.
Well, it comes from the word, like Brian's logic, shared a few shows ago that it came from the word gravitas, weight, and they've taken that word and they made something else out of it, some kind of a force. But then their top people say, well, it's not a force, but you can think of it as a force. So what is it then?
The quick shout outs. They're both the same person. Twig Bear. In the ether, or so-called magnetic field, magnetic attraction, is gravity and has been proven to coexist with the plane of inertia and surrounded absolute geometry, force in motion surrounded by torus field. Okay, I don't know what any of that means, but thank you very much for the super chat. Really do appreciate your support, Twig Bear.
Wow, that was deep.
Indeed.
So scientific evidence, this thing called gravity, that's not a force, but they want us to think it's a force.
A torus field. Force in motion surrounded by torus field. The torus field of what?
No idea. Maybe you'll clarify and give me more money in doing so. But thank you very much indeed, Twig Bear. Really do appreciate your support. Anyone from Discord got any scientific evidence of gravity? Don't be shy.
I'm still waiting for any baller to reply to my question of that was the title of my show a few days ago. How does the bending of how does space-time actually manifest a force? And not like a metaphorical description of the process of what it's supposed to look like, but how does it actually do that? There have been people attempting to answer that even afterward in a comment section, but they all just end up describing it again. The
right, Arwen. No, you're right. That's a good question because the only way they're going to answer you is through a mathematical equation, not actuality of what it is. Concept.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Email.
Nope. Email. That's a
no, and I
Dr.
enjoyed.
Becky.
Go on, Stagoli.
Oh, sorry. Yep, sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say I watched QE his debate against NASA shill or whatever yesterday, and that came up, and QE just demolished him. I enjoyed that. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah, I caught that. I actually caught it when he went out as a premiere. I didn't catch it when he was in 24/7 Discord live, but I saw his little trimmed out bit that you're presumably referring to.
Systematic demolishing of that guy. Great. There's a few Globers on Discord. There's a couple of them. They're not piping up though. Interesting.
Don't be shy. Any single viable hypothesis from any of those fields? Astronomy, cosmology, astrophysics?
Email.
Email. Dr.
That's
Ben
gonna
gets
be
a
a
reference
hard
almost every
answer
day
from
now.
now on.
It's in the junk file, Arwen.
You mean in the spam folder?
Yep.
Somebody trying to offer an answer to that the other day suggested the Big Bang Theory.
What? That's. How did they prove it scientifically?
Are you telling me that something that happened according to their storytelling bazillion years ago is a phenomena we can observe and figure the cause of by way of a hypothesis? You having me on?
Based on the microwave background radiation and redshift and all that crap.
So you're
But
saying,
what did they very manipulate?
well, hold on. Are you saying that therefore the phenomenon would be the CMB, right?
Yeah.
So that's trying to, with a hypothesis, it would be the establishment of the cause of the CMB. Something you're going to vary to cause that CMB? Cause the cosmic microwave background radiation?
Yeah, he didn't get far.
Right. Shocker. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope, not at all. It's just pictures in the book that you see in the school.
They're working on it with P waves and S waves.
And
Oh,
how
they're
are
very
they doing
reliable.
that?
Failures, though.
Very reliable source.
And- What's that, like sonar aimed at the Earth and it's supposed to bounce back and tell you something? Is that what it is?
Right. They have plans for the ability to prove it. It's just not really working out so far.
Well, I had it for a fish finder and the depth gauge on my boat, so I knew how shallow the water was. But how does that prove a molten iron core?
Because if they can accurately predict well enough at certain depths, then they would be able to prove there is a molten iron core if it was there.
Molten
And
iron
how
core.
did they do when they did this?
Right, molten iron core at
They
the centre
haven't.
of a presupposed spherical Earth. You just forgot to add that bit.
Right. No, I'm thinking about that 8-mile hole in Russia somewhere, and they found things that were they were supposed to find things the way that P waves and S waves told them, but it wasn't there. Other things were there. So how reliable is this?
Right. So they're still working on it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
On the ability to be able to prove it if it was actually there.
If it was actually there.
Of course. They don't know it yet because they can't accurately scan it.
So let's see. They get millions of dollars in grants to go try to prove something that's presupposed, begging the question to begin with.
What? I don't think who's getting that?
Well,
I don't think NASA organized that.
Well, someone's funding these things.
Wasn't it just the Russian government that did the super deep borehole?
But what was the purpose for?
I don't know. See what's down there?
There you go. Someone had to fund it.
It was sort of like the space race. It's who it was a race who's going to go deeper into the ground, and the Russians actually were the first.
Can you say the first part again? You're a bit quiet. I've turned you up. Don't say it quite louder.
I was just saying, it was just like the space race, but to the center of the Earth.
Oh, I see. So it's see if the Russians can beat us to the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth, and they got 8 miles.
And then they looked and saw that the
I heard you
Americans weren't
guys
doing
on the show
anything.
say this
Hold on,
like
10th.
several
Oh,
times.
10th. Hold on. Say again, Flat Earth Egypt.
Sorry, I've heard you several times say that they predicted what they were drilling for, but then it turned out to be something different. But I haven't read anywhere where they actually predicted that. They were kind of like, they didn't know what they were doing actually It was all like hit and miss.
Oh, really? So you're saying when they weren't actually making predictions, they were just having a... Well, what was it then? What was the point of the P waves and S waves then if they weren't there to do the prediction part of the process? I'm not following.
I think it was more, the trouble was more about the drilling process itself, the machine they were using, and how it was boring through the hole. That was the struggle of it.
Fair enough. Ultimately, just to sum this up, the P wave estimations or P and S wave estimations turned out to be incorrect. In other words, what they thought they were going to drill through, as far as I was under the understanding of, they didn't drill through. They drilled through different materials, proving they're not that reliable. They got it wrong when they were only going 8 miles down. So when they're going 3,000 plus to the centre of the Earth, yeah, it just doesn't compute, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, where did you get that piece of information? I mean, where did you... Is there any source that says this?
Nah, just Anthony's always postulated it on the show. I've not even researched it.
I don't think the P waves and S waves were directly tied in with the process. I don't think it was even the reason why they did it. It's just that there were geologists that did predictions that probably separately did a scan or were allowed to, while the drillers were just drilling a hole as ordered.
I see.
So I don't think it was set up as an experiment type situation.
I gotcha. So they're not scanning it to say, oh, we'll need this particular drill bit because we estimate we'll go through this material. It's more the fact that people said there are this layer, then this layer, then this layer based on our P wave and S wave measurements. Then they actually drilled it and went, no, it weren't. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, sort of. And by the way, they're not going to change their drill bits. It's all tungsten, all of it.
Sure, but just
there's
for my
nothing
example.
else that can do it.
Sure. But yeah, the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth bit, so whoever it was asked earlier, well, isn't the debunking of R taking care of this? Well, yeah, same applies with the molten iron core at the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth. Like when they show their diagram, they'll go, look, here's my presupposed spherical Earth and how the P waves and S waves. I've certainly seen plenty of depictorial representations of how their argument works with P waves and S waves. And yeah, they'll be begging the question when they do it. I absolutely assure you of that. They'll be needing their R value to be confirming it with the P waves and S waves, i.e. affirming the consequent. Talking of it, last but by no means least, any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
Black Swan.
Yeah, pictures from space.
No, you can't have space. It's fake. Can't have gas pressure without a container, and they're asserting that the sky is a vacuum to take those pictures from, automatically rendering all of those images fake.
Unless they just say it's space, but it's actually not space, and they still did go all the way up there and then photograph the Earth as a globe.
I see. So if I say I'm going to go and get you some magic Turkish delight from Narnia, and I just say I'm going to Narnia, and I just get shot-bought Turkish delight, and then present them to you as though they'd come from Narnia, then that's pretty much as good. Or just a complete hoax, Eden, fraud, not true, not real, come from a fake place.
Right. But who knows? Maybe they did go really high up and then just... Maybe it does kind of look sort of like a ball when you go up high enough, if that's even a real possibility. Now, of course, we know that they probably didn't go actually that high up, because you can't reach that far in the low pressure air. You just can't get above there unless you have huge momentum, and that's dangerous. It deflects. They don't do that.
Does what look like a ball? The horizon?
Well, who knows? Maybe when you go up high enough, it will... I don't know. I don't think it really will look like that. Like
what's it?
A ball surrounded by black. I think it'll just look like a giant white haze.
Oh, so you do mean the horizon? So a giant ball surrounded by black, so that would be the horizon you're referring to then. Yeah, they don't have a physical geometric sphere edge horizon to assert that it's Earth curve edge anyway, Arwin. So even if it did look like a ball when referring to the Earth curve edge that's physical, bending to look like a ball, well, that's not a physical sphere edge. That's a non-actual location, an apparent location. Look it up. Look up what apparent means. appearing but not
understand.
actual. Well, that's not a physical sphere edge that can bend at altitude, Arwen, for them to have it look
Okay,
like
so
a ball.
what if instead they just went up in that ship, then they had to contest with the low pressure, so the window they looked through just accidentally made it look like a globe because of the thickness of the glass, and it was all an accident.
Yeah,
So they
again-
mistakenly just thought the Earth looked like the globe because of that window.
Again, it being the horizon, right? So through the window, it is the horizon being reified into a physical location that apparently is bending into a sphere shape according to this description. So you're saying they mistakenly identified the horizon as a physical sphere edge? Yeah, we know, but we've debunked that. They don't have a physical sphere edge. So regardless of what it might look like when they're up in the sky, it doesn't turn it into a physical bending edge of an Earth curve.
Right.
How come-
But it
how
might
come-
be very difficult to not reify it if it looks so much like a globe.
Yeah, much better to get
I
flat
would-
earthers to argue all day long about whether or not that non-physical location's bending, because it's much more useful to have the flat earthers reify it into a flat physical line than a bent physical line Earth curve edge to block boats and buildings. So much better for us to say, look how flat the horizon is, ultimately playing into their argument that it's a physical edge. It just happens to be bent when we example it as flat earthers, not me personally, you understand.
Well, maybe it's just because of reversed terrestrial refraction that when you go up high enough, the flat plane actually will look like a globe. It would be kind of ironic since the opposite's supposed to be happening here on Earth.
Well, no, terrestrial refraction requires an R value to bend the light at the rate of the presupposed spherical Earth derived from a physical horizon that is being moved with reverse terrestrial refraction. That needs R. And you need a physical horizon to get R, and they haven't got that anymore.
Hey,
Now you're
Arwen,
making things unnecessarily complicated, Nathan.
let me
my
ask
bad.
you a question. How high do you have to be before Earth curve could be seen based on their presupposition?
Well, I think you'd need at least 2 joints for that.
No, what you're asking is how high do I have to go for the horizon to become a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as Earth curve? Well, no, the altitude doesn't change its physicality, 10th man. The not actual location.
Yeah, I know, but he had Arwen was clever in saying it's the reverse of what they're doing here. So we're here on the surface of what they say is a sphere, and they're saying it's curved, but to us it's flat. And what they say when they go up, it should be more curved, but when high altitude balloons go up, it looks like a plane. So
it's
like flat.
What's this it's word? What's it's? The horizon again?
Yeah.
The horizon's not a physical location. It's not a physical sphere edge. It can't block things with its physicality. It's not physical. So, yeah,
But
the
if
altitude
the Earth
makes
were
no
a globe,
difference.
then it would.
Correct.
No, it
Right.
doesn't suddenly become physical when you go up high. The horizon is not
Well, you would s-
physical.
No, you missed if the Earth is a globe. Then horizon would be.
No, because if the Earth was a globe, then you'd have this geometric limitation based on the hill they claim gets in the way. Regardless of altitude, it'd have geometric limitations. And we've debunked those geometric limitations. So no, not if the Earth was a sphere, because if the Earth was a sphere, then we'd have a geometric limitation to it, which has been reached and breached, demonstrated by the Black Swan. So no begging the question, Arwen. No.
My point. That was my point. That's if the Earth is a sphere, then it would be there. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying if it is, and then going with that.
All right. If the Earth was a sphere,
Yeah.
then we must have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon, and we don't.
Yeah, I was tracking with Arwen.
Right, but still, the high altitude footage through that special window, it did kind of look
What's it?
like it was.
The horizon? It?
Yes.
Why'd you keep saying it?
So maybe it's geometric after all. It's just that we
No.
can't see it because we're too small on Earth.
No, it has geometric limitations based on its physicality if it's a sphere. They've been reached and breached by the Black Swan. God, it is just like talking to fundies sometimes on this show, even without any here.
I do my best.
What, to repeat yourself 5 times? That aspect of the fundy zealotry I don't need.
Oh, well, I'm giving it you anyway.
Yeah, well, we're all well trained in it, clearly. Obviously a human nature
Well, at
thing
least
rather than a
Arwen's
fundy
nice
globe
about
thing.
it.
Go on, 10th.
I said at least Arwen's nice about it.
I'm trying not to rumpus.
Oh, you're a good rumpuser. That was fun.
All right. So there's no possibility that on this Earth, the horizon might be geometric after all?
No, it would have geometric limitations. This is the fifth time. You're just going to do this all day, aren't you?
But what if the Earth was just a lot bigger?
No, Arwin. All of their maths is based on their physical parameters that they give us for their sphere. That's not going to change. The rock doesn't suddenly get bigger another day. And what have we got?
What if
Why
they
have we
were
got?
just wrong and just unwilling to concede to their error?
No, Arwin, just no.
Okay, I'll stop now.
I don't mind. It's amusing, to say the least. You can tell we've spent too long around fundies, right?
Yep.
Oh, they'd be chanting, "You're muting me, you're muting me, scaredy cat," at this point.
Well, what is their rebuttal?
Because
What's
they
the
think
argument
it's
we're
so
having?
serious.
What would be getting chanted? And it would
You're
be
muting me or scaredy cat.
No. It would. I'm talking about the argument again, not the actual ad hom fundy rhetoric or whatever. Not rhetoric. Defense mechanisms. I'm talking about the actual rhetoric, i.e., they would be doing what you're doing. Well, if the Earth was a sphere, well, if we had a geometric horizon, we do. We don't.
Right. Well,
Isn't it-
they would say
Mason-
you just don't understand after that point. I'm not going there.
Well, we
Objection.
can't understand because they argue both sides of the argument and they're confusing themselves. So how do they expect us to understand anything?
Well, don't you understand that we do have a geometric horizon, and we don't have a geometric horizon? It only exists in the maths. What's not to understand?
Yeah, that's nonsense. I mean, violation of the law of non-contradiction right there. But they seem to think it's perfectly all right to talk that way.
They don't have a choice. You've got to talk that way. If you've imposed your fundamentalist religious zealot worldview onto the actual world, well, your worldview isn't the world. And therefore you've got to double speak and contradict yourself when you're describing something that isn't the world as the world. That would be a sphere world.
Right, but then as smart as some of these guys say they are, then that only means there's only one other thing happening. They have a bias, an ideology, and they're not willing to give it up for the sheer facts that what they're saying can't support it.
Yeah, that's zealotry.
Well, zealotry in and of itself is not bad, but zealotry in a contradiction is very bad.
Yeah, you know who the fundy zealot is in Matrix?
Fundy zealot in the Matrix.
The main
Give me
character.
a clue.
What's it called again?
Trinity?
Morpheus. Morpheus is the fundamentalist religious zealot.
Oh,
Is-
yeah,
Ah,
Morpheus.
yeah, that's-
Morpheus.
yeah.
Yeah, Morpheus.
That's so.
Yeah,
Talks,
he would be.
talks to Morpheus about having faith in the Oracle. Blind, unquestioning faith. And in spite of Morpheus getting it wrong on 5 prior occasions and killing 5 separate men because he just decided to point his finger and say, "You are the one." I am like a priest or someone ordaining somebody with the ability. And he killed several people as a result of it. But still carries on adhering to the prophecies of what is essentially a computer program designed to entrap him. But because he's got such blind zealotry towards that cause, that would be the cause of the one freeing the people in Zion according to a Matrix program that's telling him so. His blind faith leads everyone to certain paths, and it's taken advantage of. The zealotry is taken very much advantage of by the system that's in control, right? It's just so
Yeah,
ironic.
yeah,
That's
I can
what we
see
deal
that.
with here. That's what we deal with. We deal with zealots.
Who have bad arguments.
They just don't understand.
Yeah, but you would think that they could hear themselves when they listen to the show again, or they go to another forum and say, "Yeah, I was on that Nathan Oakley show," and people say, "Yeah, you made a fool of yourself. You contradicted yourself." I mean, they just can't see that for some whatever
No,
reason.
they can't see it. They're just not looking. They're focusing on the reason why they do it, and so that reason is the only thing they see in what they're doing, not the actual separated actions. That's zealotry. It's everything is justified in defense of what they're trying to achieve, even nonsense. So that's the only thing they look at.
Yeah, no argument there from me. But the point is, if we take just one of the housekeeping questions, like is there axial rotation? Is the Earth rotating? Is there Earth-based Coriolis? Is there 15-degree movement of the Earth? Well, the Earth is obviously stationary and no one feels it. So, but you're telling me it's happening. Well, there's one way to find out. Let's see what happens if something leaves the Earth, and does the Earth spin underneath it? That's very logical. They can't even see that.
Yeah, it's moving too slowly anyway.
But their path is pretty blinded, though. I mean, having done that exact research myself, I know how convoluted their explanations are if you look for them. And again, that's intentional. You know, if you leave somebody in confusion with their explanations that are given, some of them being highly contradictory, sometimes in the same sentence, then most average Joe normal won't personally realise that they've just been double spoken to. A lot of people don't recognise what doublespeak is or contradictions. They don't see them as contradictions. They just see them as something that they haven't quite fully understood.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them go there here on the show plenty of times. But when we answer them and we have a back and forth to where we challenge that, how can I put it, supporting evidence they think they have, and then we tear it apart so it's not so supportive anymore. Then they're left with, yeah, you're right. If the Earth is turning and something leaves it, the Earth should be turning underneath that thing. And if it's a drone that's stationary, then that would prove if the Earth is turning or not. But that never happens. All right, let me go back and see what my high priest tells me to say now. Is that basically what they're saying without saying it?
No, they go back to the trench level corporals to get that sort of information, because they're already down in the trenches by then.
Describe what you mean by the trenches.
Here, you're only going to be asking those sorts of questions if you're here, coming up against those sorts of arguments. Well, Joe Normal doesn't come up against those arguments. And should he, by just pure coincidence, find himself looking for the answers because he's questioned it off his own back, well, then he'll find himself surrounded in doublespeak that's confusing. Now, whether or not that person recognises it doesn't necessarily mean they'll be led to the questions that would be asked of a high priest, i.e. the contradictions that are laid down here at trench level. Well, if you're at that level, trench level, and you're questioning those things, then you're going to have some trench level fundy that's going to give you the answers.
All right, so let's take it to all of us have experienced, I know I have, with normies. So I bring up the subject that use one, if not all three of the housekeeping questions. And they're saying, wow, you make some good points. Now I think about it that way. Yeah, here, let me get back to you. Or, well, that never happens. So what happens is, yeah, but there's no way. I mean, that you're going against all of science. You know, they start saying all those things when it's pseudoscience that they really mean. And so it's almost like there's a natural blockage of accepting it, even though they agree with the logic of it. Three housekeeping questions that we use a lot here. They can't get themselves to say, oops, maybe I have been lied to. I'm going to look into this. There's some block there keeping them from doing it.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance.
But some of them have it, some of them fight through it, and some of them don't want to know it.
Yeah, when Chocolate describes the process of talking to somebody about this, them giving a rebuttal, it being torn to pieces, leaving them with only cognitive dissonance, holding the original position that's been taken to pieces, and Chocolate's explanation or demolition of the argument, they don't want to talk to him anymore. They're like, I don't want to do this. Because it messes up their world in a very literal way.
Yeah, indeed. I've seen that happen to me on plenty of topics, not just this topic, where people put their fingers in their ears. No, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Stop. Let's change subject.
Yeah. There's a point where people, again, your average Joe, will recognise that cognitive pain and just go, no, I don't want this. Let's just stop this. I don't want to process this. It's not fun. Even more so if they've started off by laughing at you. What? You think the Earth's flat? Yeah, of course.
I see your screen. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance with perfect timing.
Indeed. Yeah, we're right slap bang in the middle of that, aren't we? We're at the bargaining stage. Typically, we get a lot of denial, and then when people hear the arguments, they get pissed off with it, anger, and then they want to join the show to debate it. Now, the only problem with that is that, generally speaking, they're left with cognitive dissonance, holding both positions, the one that's been destroyed by us and the original position which has been destroyed. So they're not likely to want to move on to depression, because that's not much fun. So they normally regress to anger, normally.
No, depression is not fun. Avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, but you can get over it. The thing is, past that hurdle of depression, a lot of the anxiety that goes along with the cognitive dissonance and holding both positions simultaneously, you're relieved of it almost instantaneously. And a lot of the paradigm is quite scary. The heliocentric paradigm, there's aspects to it that are quite terrifying. And once you realise that they're not true, life is easier. It's less stressful in terms of how you perceive the world. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people out there that are terrified by not knowing. That will mess them up. And, plenty of people tell me all about it. Well, either you've got an alternative explanation or I've got to have my current explanation be adhered to. It's just too terrifying to let it go. Now, I get that. For me, it's like, no, it's wonderful not knowing. That's amazing. But most people don't see it that way. I say most. Most of the ones I've spoken to.
Yeah, most of my life, I'm going to be my own witness here. So some people may like to not believe what I'm going to say, but I don't have two positions on a subject. I mean, I can't think of one right now off the top of my head where I have two positions on a subject. Now, I probably do, maybe subconsciously, but I'm not aware of it. But I go through life, like you said, without much cognitive pain, because it's like, that's that, and this is this, and that's it. It's like nothing about it is so scary. But then again, I think it's because I don't have two positions on the subject.
Indeed.
And not knowing is okay.
I think not knowing's great. Problem is that
there's
our
a lot of
opponents will
things I don't
demand
know.
that we know an answer to something that they say they've got figured out, and we can show that they haven't. The insistence that we then give them an alternative, it's like, nah, we don't have to do that. We can show how what's been claimed is wrong, and how exciting it might be you that finds out what is actually the case in that regard. Why is the sky blue? I don't know. I know what they say is the cause of that. I know how they say the light's being scattered, and where the light's coming from, and what it's hitting. However, now I don't know that that's true. The world's your oyster. You might be the one to figure that out. But in the meantime, I don't know. And neither do you. Now, you can either accept that, or you can be terrified by it.
Yeah, but this is where they want us to come up, at least in this one context. Okay, you've destroyed my model. Show me your model.
Yeah, we don't live on a model. It's not necessary. I don't have to give people an alternative when I take apart the heliocentric world. Their demand that they will only fight us on a territory where they have an equal and opposing model to take apart is absurd. We don't live on a model. That's a reification fallacy. I'll defend my position that we don't live on your heliocentric world by pointing out that it's a reification fallacy to assert that we do.
Well, the Earth is obviously and observably flat and stationary, motionless. And that's what we all, through our senses, feel and see. And yet their model says it's this. And when we destroy it with the housekeeping questions, then they turn around and say, well, show me yours. I go, you're looking at it. This is all I got too. I mean, what is your senses telling you? What is your eyes telling you? I mean, you see it right in front of you. Do you see a curve? You've been on a plane. Have you seen a curve from a plane? I mean, how high do you got to go to see this thing if it actually exists? And
Curve
since
of
we
what?
destroyed R,
Curve of what?
it doesn't exist.
Curve of what? The horizon again?
That's
Here
what
we
I'm
go
saying.
again.
Yeah, there we go. I'm saying since we destroyed it with the R and the Black Swan, they got no. I mean, they just need to realize it's over. There's no geometry to back their position.
it will be interesting to see how things progress going forward.
I think these are the signs of it. Look how quiet the show is. There's no ballers here. People are learning our arguments by us talking about it, which is actually quite nice because the level of the blood pressure is nice and low, and everyone could understand. And Arwen plays a perfect baller. In fact, he's smarter than them. So it's not like we need him, but at the same time, this is the reality. Black Swan killed them.
Yeah, so, as I said in the pre-show, I'm more than content so long as the doors to the bar are open. As long as people can join. Don't get me wrong, we've got a full panel right now. There's plenty of people in there that may want to say something at some stage, but given that we covered the housekeeping, go on it, Flat Earth Egypt. Did you want to add something?
I was just going to say, the ballers only come out when you're gone, Nathan. They're so scared of you.
Well, that shouldn't be the case if they're on the winning side of the argument. Given that consensus says we're on a sphere, you'd think they'd all be for joining and telling me how wrong I am when I point out that we're not, and how we don't have a physical horizon. You'd think they'd be here telling us how we do, and how it matches their Earth curve maths.
Well, you're assuming they're genuine.
Now, I think scared's the right word, because entering this arena leaves the opponent on the globe side in cognitive pain, and people are scared of that.
So by not listening to your show, they can keep their fairy tale?
I don't know about whether or not they want to keep their fairy tale, because they want to defend their fairy tale, because there's been aspects of it taken to pieces, so they want to defend how it's still true. You know, that's the bargaining stage in the 5 stages of loss. So they've lost something, and that's why I say they're already been force-fed the red pill when they get here. You know, if you're bargaining over it, it's like, well, you've already had your anger stage. You're already well past that then. So which way are you going to go, forward or backwards? Because forwards is depression, because you've already got here. You're already in the arena. You've already heard the arguments. You already know about the Black Swan if you're listening to this broadcast. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be tertiary viewers who just come and go, these people are idiots. They're not really paying attention to anything that's being said. And they're just coming in to maybe leave a comment and say, yeah, you're idiots. And then get on with their day, because that makes them feel a bit better about it. Just a little bit of ridicule.
So the caller just said prior that they're in Discord, but when you go away, they show up. So maybe they can just come on instead of debate any of the housekeeping questions. They can tell us why they go away. When you go away, they show up. Like, what makes their argument any better when you're gone? I'd like to hear from them.
I can tell you're keen. As I say, I've got my feet up, very low blood pressure. We're talking about the subject. We're detailing how they have an idea of a model that they think they live on and how it's debunked. This, to me, is perfect. The doors are open. There are people here, according to some of the people in Discord. There's ballers on the panel right now. So I'm happy, man. Well, the fact they're not saying anything is great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I know. Doors open. You're happy with that. But why are they afraid of Arwen or 10th Man? Why don't you come and talk to us? I'm inviting you.
Go on, Flat Earth Egypt.
No, I was just laughing, man, because they're really scared of it. I'm sure it's your style of debate, man. It's you cut any argument at its knees, and they can't handle that.
But isn't Nathan just asking the obvious question that if you're going to lead with a statement, that statement cannot be a fallacy?
Yeah, basically.
So what's wrong with that?
Well,
everything. If you've got
they can't get away with it with Nathan, but they can get away with it with someone like me, like any of the people who follow the show, because basically we know the argument, but the way Nathan does it is just I don't know. It's scary.
Just repetition.
If you're a baller, you have to start with a fallacy. There's nothing else you can do.
Just repetition.
Thank
the
you.
more you do it. So you go back to the early shows. I sat in silence for a huge chunk of those shows because I didn't know the argument. I know how to shut my mouth. You know what I mean? Well, once you learn the arguments and you learn to hear trigger words, keywords. Kiwi, when he was training me up, if you want to look at it that way, pointed that out. He's like, once you know these arguments well, and my insistence on hearing them about 10 times meant that I knew them well. But after actually going through the process of arguing them, they become more and more refined, to the point where you can cut down an argument in a few words, much to the displeasure of your opponent, to the point where they don't want to debate you anymore because they always lose. Well, that should never be the case. We're flat earthers here. What do you mean you're scared to come in because you're worried that you're going to lose? Well, you shouldn't be. You should be asserting your dominance with your winning position that you're on a sphere-shaped Earth. You're not! We know it! And every argument and position that you put forward here is going to get demolished within a few seconds. Because you don't have anything. We're not on a sphere. We all know it. The audience gets to hear it unimpeded if you don't come and challenge us. And I'm more than happy for that to be the case. I could talk about this all day, every day. I do.
So I guess no one's taking up my offer.
Yeah, but the thing I don't like is they go off and they claim victory all the time. No matter how bad they get their arses handed to them.
That's, again, cognitive dissonance. You can leave a debate where you've told your opponent, we do see a geometric horizon. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths, you can't see it. But we do, we see it. If you can leave that argument and then tell anybody, well, I won. Why? Well, because I managed to get my doublespeak out of my mouth and it was heard on the airwaves. Therefore, I won. Right, yeah, but you contradicted yourself. No, I didn't. that's that type of person. Delusional.
No, we got some.
Because they assume you can't contradict yourself if you are arguing for the ball.
Exactly.
Because the ball has to be right.
Yeah, they can't not be wrong. Again, zealotry. Nobody wants their fundy viewpoint taken to pieces by a flat earther. Clearly. Why would you?
Now, are you saying the opposite would be true? If it was not a flat earther, but some guy with a lab coat, they'd be more tolerant?
Yes. I'm saying that if there's some lab coat guy, as you're, I hesitate to say scientist, which is what you've done better than I, but yeah. If that particular individual, who's all accredited, takes your argument to pieces, there's no shame, right? Well, he's obviously far better versed in this subject than I. Well, yeah, that same principle applies when you come up against a flat earther and they win. That flat earther's far more well versed in the world we live in than you are. But yet, there's respect for the guy that's got a little name tag and a white coat, whereas we get the ridicule. So which is more embarrassing? Getting taken to pieces by a PhD or getting taken to pieces by a flat earther? I'll tell you which is more embarrassing. It's being taken to pieces by somebody considered stupid by the Western world. Well, these people are just idiots. Oh, yeah? Well, go and tell them how stupid they are. We're all idiots, aren't we, right, Globers? Where's all your troops telling us how wrong we are and winning with their arguments? Oh, they're not here. Doors are open, but they're not here. It's because we've won. The Earth is obviously and observably flat. There is nothing to challenge us on anymore because you can't come and beg the question. Well, that's going to leave you in a position where you don't want to be embarrassed. So why would you come to be embarrassed by a flat earther? Nobody wants that. Big Bear, thank you very much again for the super chat. No R value needed when the Earth is geocentric and stationary, geomagnetic precession and perturbation. How'd you say that? Pertubation. Perturbation. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Thank you very much for the super chat, Twig Bear. Anyone pronounce that word last word in the super chat? Nobody's even attempting it.
What? Perturbation?
Yes, that's definitely the right pronunciation. I have no idea.
Yeah, perturbation.
Thank you for the super chat, or the multiple super chats, I should say, Twig Bear. Really appreciate your support.
Well, we've seen many times where, or I've heard it when QE plays the snippets and others, where they go from here to another, forum, like a baller forum, and then a baller corrects a baller. No, you're not exactly right. This is the way you need to say it. But when we tell them, no, you're not exactly right because the R is not there, they don't have the same feedback that they give the other guy. They get all crazy over here.
Yeah, no one wants the perceived
So I
nutters
think you got to.
Go on.
I was going to say, I think you're right. When the flat earther corrects them, it's high treason.
Yeah, it's got to be painful. And I point that out. I work that to my advantage. When we're in a point where the opponents asserted the same argument 5 times, it's been demolished 5 times, everybody couldn't be any clearer about what's just happened, and they claim victory. It's like, no, what you've just done is conceded a loss to a flat earther. The perceived lowest of the low. They must make at least some people question, when the degree of ridicule is so high for flat earthers, why anybody would even want to be one. That must at least raise an eyebrow. Well, given the amount of ridicule they suffer, why would you want to be that particular person? It's like, they just must be nutters. Reinforcing the idea. Like, till you step in this bar.
I'll give a sporting analogy to it. So you got a major league team of some kind of grown men, and they say they're the best at what their sport is. And then they take on some high school team who plays the same sport, and every time they play, the high school team beats them up. How many times do you think they want that to be known?
Exactly. Yeah, or in the what used to be called the Coca-Cola Cup. I don't follow football anymore since I was a very small kid. But you can have any division team potentially beat a really high Premiership team. They do. It happens occasionally. 4th division team beats Premiership team. It doesn't happen often, but it still happens.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants that to be highlighted? But then again, even in that scenario, there's a certain degree of respect, even if you're in a lower division. It's like, we're not considered in the same league, right? We're considered off the scale. Which works to our advantage,
here.
right? We have the upper hand in that regard. All right, so you just automatically think I'm stupid. Well, let's see how you get on.
Yeah, that's their Achilles heel right there, when they doubt the level of arguments that we throw back at them and how it just freezes them like deer in the headlights.
Yeah. Not expected. Not expected to be absolutely demolished and have your ass handed to you by a flat earther. That's not the expected standard. It's the expected standard that you go and go, you what? You think boats fall off a pizza pie? You idiot. And we go, yeah, they do. And then they go, no, they don't, you're just stupid. And that's how they win and walk away with a smug smile. But then we go, no, we don't live on a model. You're the one with an assertion of a model. The only reason you're asking us why boats fall off the edge is because you've got boats falling off an edge and maths to qualify it with. What do you mean? Well, you've got this edge, and you ask us how many meters or feet are missing from the bottom of things that are in the distance. That's boats falling over your sphere edge, mate. Nothing to do with our assertion. You're talking about controlled opposition narrative. And you go, what? You're just supposed to say something to me and sound like you're dribbling when you do so. Why are you telling me about controlled opposition narratives and sphere edge horizons that I have on a globe when I just want to tell you you're stupid for thinking boats fall off an edge of a pancake? How is this happening? How is this flat earther telling me more about my model than I should know?
Indeed, that's happened to me so many times where they're so ready to knock me out, and within 5 minutes, they don't want to talk about it. They're so quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Well, that's my favorite, when Nathan says, sit down and let a flat earther educate you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, playing it to my advantage. It's like, no, I'll humiliate you. Why not? You want to sit and ridicule us, that's the standard position, but yet when the tables are turned, yeah, I'm going to reply with the most scorn possible to the people who've come in with the automatic assumption that they're dealing with thickos and that they're automatically right. So no, you're going to sit there and you're going to listen to just how wrong you are based on what you've told me. Why not? Really rub it in.
You remember that time I was at the restaurant and the guy who was highly educated, who had retired, him and I got in a conversation. I was talking to him about things that I learned on your channel and from all the input from QE and others. And So I'm, feeling confident I could talk about these subject matters, and I start talking to him, and he's eating a pizza, and I'm sharing a beer with him, having a good old time. He says, "Man, where'd you get your education? This has been a really good talk." I mean, I go, "Well, I just went to high school." And he says, "No, you got to have had an education, because no one talks the way you talk without one." He says, "Look, my brother's a dentist, my sister's this, they all going, they got their masters, they don't even talk like you." I go, I wanted to, but it wasn't the proper. I was going to say, "Oh, you're probably referencing the Flat Earth channel that I frequent every day."
Pick. I'm just going to read out one comment from Bible Literalists. So big shout out to, no, there's a super chat, so I'll read that out first. When you guys debate Bill, Shy, and Neil made it. I don't understand that, but thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Twig Bear. I'm just going to read out Paula's comment. You can lead a normie to truth, but you can't make them think. Very well put, Paula. I wholeheartedly agree. With that, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Google for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
I was thinking there, the other way that I was listening to the show there as it was on, I just couldn't join. The other way the ballers, they always join the people on Discord after the show is over. Well, Rumpus does a little trick where he joins the show in the after show, and he has an argument with Nathan, and it never goes well for him. And it's normally him and Nathan that are arguing. And then what he does is, because he knows that after show is not going to go publicly for a day or so, so what he does then is he uses whatever he could gain out of that argument, and he goes and has another argument later on Brandon's or somewhere else. This is what he does. So he's polishing up his own argument to argue on a separate platform later on. So he's coming into the debates here with the great possibility of a loss, which is very often the case. And then he's going off to Brandon's or wherever else, and he's debating because he's debating people he knows that aren't as sharp as Nathan, let's just say. And people wouldn't spot things as fast as Nathan, wouldn't have as much experience, that kind of way. Even if they might be good debaters and might be well used to Rumpus, there'll be small things you get away with, And that's what he does. Rumpus is very, 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 like, you have to keep on your toes with Rumpus. He never stops looking for an angle, that kind of way. What do you think?
Completely agree.
Yeah, he's unique, all right. At least he comes in, though, Nathan. You have to say that, even though he comes in and he'll lie. What are you saying, Si? Yeah, at least he comes in, unlike a lot of other ballers who don't come in,
Well, you've been talking to him on your own a lot lately, right?
Over Christmas, I did. I rang him drunk St. Stephen's morning. And I debated him for 20 minutes, and he told me to go away eventually. But then I ended up having a to and fro with him after that. But it was mostly to do with gravity, I think. But I mean, I've done it a couple times. I rang him once or twice. Like, why? The minute you ring him, he's debating straight away. It's like he's on autopilot. There's no such thing as, well, how are you doing? What's going on? Why did you ring me? It's straight away, straight into the debate. Do you know what I mean? There's no such thing as, why are you ringing me? It's just like, yo, it's debate time straight away.
You talking about Adam? Does it? Why would he have a
rumpus?
Why would he have a modus operandi or MO if there's nothing to benefit him? He doesn't run a show. What's he getting out of it? It doesn't make any sense why he would be so disciplined and on his toes, as you put it, keeping up to date with the flat Earth debate, the whole shebango, seemingly all the time. I don't want you to divine his motives. I'm just saying it's interesting, right? What could possibly motivate somebody? I am asking. I'm not rhetorical.
Rumpus?
It was just rhetorical, Arwin.
Sorry?
Yes, I am asking what motivates him, but it's rhetorical.
Well, I think that first and foremost, he really loves the globe and he loves doing the technicals surrounding it. Because he always, every time he ends up like, you just don't understand, and then he wants to go and explain it. That is really where his love is working on it. So he just loves the globe and defending the globe, not necessarily even with a primary reason to reify it, but just because he loves doing it. That's why he keeps coming back despite all the losses. So he's just doing that, I think.
I think so. I think it could be. I mean, it's not. I can't define these thoughts, but I can talk about a character trait a lot of people have, where they have a certain view of themselves or a certain persona that they feel is theirs, and they'll hang on to it tooth and nail. And anyone who tries to take that persona away or beat them at their own game, or they feel anyone is a threat, they'll attack. You know, I dealt with that in my own life, where my number one enemy, I didn't realize for a long time, was even my enemy, because it turns out that I was a massive threat to the person without me realizing. And the reason I was such a threat to the person was because I was a threat to the very thing that person felt was their persona. So it could be simple as that, that it's just down to a defending of a persona.
Maybe.
What, are we diagnosing ballers?
I said it was rhetorical.
Trying to stay in character, basically, is what Ryan's saying. To keep the character going. And probably Rumpus loves his character. Because it works, yes. We know he's an idiot. We know he's delusional and scaredy cat, right? But to a lot of other people that are ball believers, he can write down that fictional story really, really eloquently, and he gets respect for that.
Eloquent? Do you call him double speak eloquent now?
Yes, he is. Yes. Yes. He is.
Wow. Okay.
From a baller perspective, not from a physics perspective, mind you.
Mr. Liquid Gas.
Yes, but it's a very popular mistake. You have to understand, it's a very popular mistake. See?
I don't even think it's that. I don't think he's stupid. I just think that he's fighting a completely losing argument.
Oh, yeah, he's stupid. He's beyond stupid. Yeah, he is. Yeah, just because you can talk really fast doesn't make you smart, right? You have to be coherent at the minimum. I know second graders that are smarter than him.
Yeah, but he is coherent.
Seriously.
From a baller.
Seriously. Hey, did you play my recent? Nathan? Have you had a chance to play my recent Bob the Pseudoscience Fallacy Guy little thing?
This one.
Yeah, the one I put in Ballbusters. I don't think you got a chance to play that one.
Bob the Pseudoscience Fallacy Guy, 2 January 2021.
The current term of gravity means an acceleration towards the center of a mass.
No, it's not. That's 106 years out of date pseudoscience. The current definition of gravity is the bending and warping of space-time. You Dunning-Kruger numpty dipshit.
I mean, you can say it. You can say it.
Weight is not gravity.
You can say it however you.
Not gravity.
Let Bob talk.
Let Bob talk. Psycho. However, we agree. Let Bob talk. I mean, what could go wrong?
Weight is
Listen,
not
listen,
gravity.
you can say it
Weight
however
is
you-
not gravity.
So weight is not gravity. All right. Then what is it?
That's the definition of it,
Weight
though.
is mass times acceleration, and in the case of gravity, it's the acceleration of gravity.
So weight is not gravity. It's the acceleration of gravity? You dumbass cracker.
Very good. What is it with this 106-year out-of-date crap that they keep parroting?
I don't know.
I know what it is. It was the last straw that they still had left tying gravity into physical reality. That's what it was. So they can never let it go because now it was taken away with Einstein and they never got anything back.
No, because they know bending of space-time, bending and warping, does shit is stupid.
They're trying to push a new hotness now.
They're grasping for straws, see?
They're trying to push a new hotness away from Einstein and a little bit away from Newton. It's called MOND. Capital M as in Mike, O as in Oscar, N as in November, D as in Delta. MOND.
What?
Mond what?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Look it up. I've been running into it recently.
God. Did it just relabel it? The search for gravities.
Let me find out this.
There's-
I'm sorry, I wasn't
Yeah.
prepared for it.
There's,
Just,
Well, hang
struck
on.
me.
While you're looking for that, since it's the last straw, does that mean they're bailing?
They're grasping for straws. It's the last straw, you know? Gravity
didn't get that.
style was the last physical tie-in of gravity into physical reality, and then it was taken away from them. And so now they're just grasping at straws.
That's what he said. You mean they're bailing?
Failing.
Bailing.
Giving hay.
Straws.
I think
Oh,
I found
I
it.
didn't see
Hold
them.
on. Is this it? Says it's 2-litre engine, 16 valve. Oh, it's Mondeo. Sorry. No, it's modified dynamics, right? Hold on. Modified dynamics, right?
Yes.
I'll have a read.
Modified Newtonian dynamics.
Does it
It's
influence
alternate.
gas this
It's
time?
because of dark matter. Yeah, because they got their fingers up their butts with dark matter, so they have to conjure more stuff.
Oh my God! But dark matter was only there for gravity in the first place.
But there's another problem.
Incest breeding now.
There's another problem. In the old, what they termed as Newtonian gravity, Cavendish era gravity, gravity was mass weight was mass times acceleration, right? And most of the time, it's these days just termed as gravitational acceleration. Sometimes they add in the mass. But with Einstein's theory of general relativity, mass is causing the mass that's curving space-time is causing the effect of gravity. So mass is causing gravity and weight, which is two completely different stories.
Yeah, I quite like this sentence. Open brackets. So it's galactic dynamics, open brackets, analogous to and extending Kepler's laws, close brackets, such as asymptomatic flatness of rotation curves.
What?
Which is termed and a mass hyphen asymptomatic hyphen speed relation. Wow. This
But
is
is it
beautiful, man. This is
specifically
beautiful.
Newtonian? Is it expanding on Newtonian, or is it really something new?
It's just poetry. Anthony would love this.
But is it building on the original misassumption of Newtonian gravity, or isn't it?
No, it's pure
Is it completely
pseudoscience. So it's
different?
making predictions. Mond is a set of predictions. It's like, well, it's not science then, because then it would be a prediction in a hypothesis, which it isn't. It's based on Kepler and galactic dynamics. Well, okay. So it's not hypothesis-based predictions for a phenomena then. So this is just pseudoscience.
What did they observe?
Well,
Sorry.
since it's predictions, it's not going to amount to anything.
Yeah, I think they observed math. I think that's what they observed.
I'll just quote what it says. Also clearly confirmed. I'll start the sentence at the beginning. Another obvious prediction of Mond, also clearly confirmed, is a tight correlation between the observed mass discrepancy in galactic systems and the accelerations in them.
Ooh.
Sounds like just more bureaucracy.
One more story.
Top of the old nonsense, really, then.
Well, galactic
One more story
system,
before bedtime, Uncle Nathan.
when they say galactic system, that just means model based on Kepler. So it's detailed what they're talking about. So galactic systems, paraphrased as our reification of this model. So it's not making predictions within reality. That would be hypothesis, i.e. scientific predictions. It's making predictions based on mass asymptomatic speed relations in the, quote, galactic dynamics of this, quote, galactic systems. These galactic systems. Well, they're talking about the models. This is pure pseudoscience.
Mathematical at that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid, QE, your black swan has killed most of the ballers.
Sorry, I'm in a deep discussion about when's breakfast.
That also killed the ballers.
Okay, so it's a way of using a little bit of magic and pseudoscience to sidestep the fact that it's been superseded with bending space-time, introducing Kepler's third law, and introducing some sort of force based on acceleration. So, okay, I see why they're using it now, QE. Thanks for... did you send me this, or did I find this on my own? I forget. Either way, yeah, I see what it's used for.
So they're doubling down on the non-hypothesis gravity of Newton again.
That's not Newton.
Well, they call it Newton.
Yeah, it's not Newton. He even wrote a letter to a philosopher of his time, remember?
Right. We could have billboards of that letter and then carry them with us, like in these conventions, baller conventions. Just show them, like, oh, look, we got new gravity. Oh, yeah, look, Newton still never claimed the hypotheses on which you all base this.
Well, these people who can't do the scientific method and QE said that it's about dark matter, this Mond. So what's dark matter in their mind?
Well, that's something I was going to ask QE about, actually. So it seems like, while you're asking about what dark matter is, in this they're saying that it's got missing, I hope I'm saying this correct, baryons, baryons, which are known to exist, unlike the bulk. It's talking about them having an understanding of dark matter, but saying that it can't be made of baryons. What the hell are baryons?
Yeah, and who's ever handled dark matter?
Well, this is talking about baryons and the fact that they're missing.
No, I know.
So what are they?
It does not have a visible or measurable nature.
Just sounds like they're inventing something to discover. So they're missing baryons, right? And then they're going to, if I'm saying it correctly, in the future, what they'll say, well, we thought and predicted mathematically that they should be there even though we couldn't see them or couldn't find them. And now what do you know? We found them! Validating the nonsense that we were talking about prior to this thing that we've now found, which we couldn't find and now we have, based on our predictions of it being there. So
yeah, like, that's not, wait till they find the graviton, because that's on the way too.
Well, and the dark matter.
So, Brian, what's the graviton they're looking for? What did they say this?
The graviton is Now, this is not my interpretation, or this is not my description. This is the official description. So I'm eating hummus. Is a massless particle that moves around instantaneously. So it has no mass, right? Basically, if you want to put it into reality, no matter. It's made of nothing and it moves around instantaneously. So it can be anywhere, any amount of times, any amount of it wants it, and you can't see it because it's made of nothing. You can't get it, but they're going to find it.
Sounds like the horizon. They can't see it.
Are you eating breakfast? Are you eating breakfast, Q? I got another question for you about this Mon thing.
Well, it's very similar because it also, dark matter only exists in the math and everything associated with it.
Yeah.
And was
Listen, you're asking me
the math to account for the gigantic laws of gravity.
Go ahead. You're asking me about this. I haven't really looked into this all that much. I just looked at it and laughed and then moved on.
That wasn't going to be what my question was about. What were you referencing it to? Were you referencing it to the globe side of the argument, offering this up or discussing it, or the flat Earth gravitational believing side? Who is it that's referencing
No,
this?
I was just not neither. I was just saying this is more of a secular thing. I just been just through my travels, I've heard it come up, right? Every so often. It's not that old, right? I just snicker and laugh. That's the reason I brought it. You guys were talking about gravity, and it struck me at that time.
Okay, well, just listen to this last statement. We do not know if MOND is only relevant to gravitational phenomena, comma, or should also affect in some way other phenomena, such as electromagnetism. So this could be getting thrown at us from both sides.
That's lovely. It's something new.
Can't
Pretty
be
funny,
a bit
though.
of nonsense made up by somebody who hasn't got a clue about the thing they're describing and needing to find things that don't exist yet. Beautiful poetry.
Yeah, one of the funniest things, and I keep on going over, I keep on bringing it up. They say, well, electromagnetic waves. And I said, but you talk about light. And they say, yeah. I said, photons. Yeah. They're neither electric or magnetic. So how can it be electromagnetic? It's like calling a beach ball a turkey squirrel.
Hold on.
I don't get it. I don't know.
What does the photoelectric effect prove?
That photons are particles.
Why is it called the photoelectric effect then? Am I missing something here?
They call them, well, the electrons that are kicked out there's free floating electrons like conduction bands, right? And the electrons that are kicked out, they term those photoelectrons. It's not, they're just electrons. That's how they term them.
Okay. So it's electron as opposed to electric.
Electrons, photoelectric, electricity, electrons.
Yeah.
They're highly connected.
But you said it's neither electric. You said it's not electric.
We're talking about photons.
Yeah, and you said it's neither electronic or electric or magnetic. And now we're talking about electrons.
Photons. They're not electric or magnetic.
So where's the connection with the electrons?
You brought up the electrons. I didn't.
Well, that's why I'm trying to gain a better understanding.
The photons kick the electrons out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't mean photons are electrons.
They kick the electrons out?
Yeah.
Okay. As in, that is the photoelectric effect.
That doesn't make photons electrons. They just call the electrons that are kicked out photoelectrons. It's just it's turn of phrase.
What, they roam into the wrong neighborhood? They kick them out?
Yeah, but kicking something
That
out
doesn't
isn't
make
being
electrons
something, is it?
photons.
If I kick some pigs out of a sty, it doesn't make me a pig. And if your photon kicks out an electron, it doesn't make it electric. That's what you're saying, right?
Say that one more time.
If I kick a load of pigs out of a pigsty, does that make me a pig? No, it doesn't.
Exactly. You ever kick a pig?
No.
I have.
Is pig hold on, is pig a metaphor? Because if so, yes.
No. It reminds me of something. never mind.
But light is a wave, though,
I think
right?
QE was just baking the question.
I've kicked a few pigs out.
I like to kick a pig every now and again.
Hey, pigs are actually quite sentient and intelligent, you know?
Tell us more,
I find
Arnold.
They're delicious.
Yeah,
Anyway, this is
I say the same
fascinating.
about you.
I know you do.
Well, I kicked them.
You shouldn't talk about women like that.
Nobody was talking about women like that, Rams. How dare you? That's you. That's all on you.
I know.
I was.
Watch out, Rams.
Ruining
We're
my
going to have
joke.
a photon bounce you out.
Right, I rumpus that. If it was offensive, it hopefully won't reach the algorithm. Actually, as we're on the go on, whoever that was.
Is it, that was me. I said, is that it? Is Acom virus around?
He is around. He typically responds as well, which is why my tone has now dropped.
Is he in the hangout?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Hey, oh, that's you. I'm sorry. Hey, what's up? Happy New Year.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? Happy New Year, you dumbass cracker.
Happy New Year to you too, man.
That's said with affection, right? Look, just for the audience's clarity, notice that QE is asking for a Virus's attention. That in itself shows at least a modicum of respect, and that insult is the same. That's banter between friends because these two are actually beer drinking. But no, I'm taking it too far. Anyway, carry on.
You're creating a narrative.
I started to. I stopped. Feel free to continue, you two. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah. I don't want to spend any more time between angular and linear momentum. I got another question for him because that was a load of laughs. You heard of semicircular canals in the inner ear?
Yeah.
What did they detect?
Detect? No, I don't think so. At least not if I think what they are. No.
I said, what do they detect? Not no, not yes or no. That's not a closed-ended question.
I thought you. I'm sorry. I thought you asked, do they detect? I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
So you don't know what they detect, right? Is that correct?
Level.
No, I don't.
Level. They've got liquid inside them.
They
detect rotational movement.
That's the part of your ear that has liquid. It is supposed to worry about the pressure, equal pressure or whatever on the outside.
Get a hold of yourself. Now, they detect.
Okay. I'm holding myself.
They detect rotational movement, man.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Is that the part of the ear that? Oh, like the inner. Okay, I got you. Part of your equilibrium, like when you have an inner ear infection, that's why you can get off balance. Is that the part of the ear?
Yep. Sure.
Hold on. What did you say? Equilibrium. What are they doing in equilibrium?
Well, inside pressure being equal as the outside pressure.
Yeah, but what's the liquid doing when it's in equilibrium inside those three little circularly? I don't know what they're made of, cartilage or something. Whatever they're made of, it's not relevant. What's the liquid doing when it's in equilibrium?
Too much about biology. I'm not a big biology man. I suck at it.
That shall be your undoing.
What does any liquid do when it's in equilibrium? When it's at rest?
He's laughing about that.
I'm stealing your thunder here, totally. I'm so sorry, QE.
No, you're fine, man. Just having fun. So, they detect rotational movement. Why ain't I detecting any rotational movement if the Earth's rotating?
I don't know. I'm not too sure about the way the inner ear works. Does there need to be a certain amount of rotation, or does it just pick up any minuscule amount?
Minuscule.
So if I turn my head like
You damn Skippy.
really like a centimeter an hour, like to the side, it's gonna
A
pick that up.
centimeter an hour. Yep, it'll detect it.
Okay, cool. See, I didn't know that. New information to me. I'm not sure how that part of the ear
I
works.
think a conclusion's coming, Virus.
I like
Yeah, the Earth's not rotating.
and that's what you get from that.
How you like that?
Perfect.
How you like them apples?
Well, all I could say is that was an earful.
Tastes
What
like
you should come back
pears.
with, Virus, is that it's gravity that's causing it to go into equilibrium.
Say again? No. You see, from the
That's not-
Vestibular Disorders Association, got a whole bunch of experts in the vestibular apparatus. Unlike the otolithic organs, the semicircular canals, what we're talking about, are not sensitive to gravity.
think so either.
How you like that?
Yeah, I really didn't think so either.
No, they're not sensitive to gravity.
What?
That,
They're
they're not
sensitive.
sensitive
I
to
didn't think
gravity.
so.
They're sensitive to angular movement.
Yeah,
So
I
they're
can
sensitive
understand
to
that.
reality.
I would think so.
It's claimed Earth's got angular movement, and we're sensitive to it. We don't detect any.
Well, I'm just curious to know how much of the inner ear does, like, how much rotation does it pick up? What's like the minimum? It has to be a minimum.
Yeah, just get on a boat.
Right, let me get it straight. We're saying that qualitatively it detects motion, and you're saying, well, how much? Let's qualify it with a number. This sounds familiar.
Yeah, I want to see if there's a minute, like a minimum amount, or or at least a certain amount it has to be before you actually start feeling that certain, I guess, rotation.
You can feel it.
Yeah,
can
get
feel
on the
it.
boat.
You can feel it when you're on one of those walkways in the airport. That's not a whole lot of movement, but you can feel that. You can feel it in an elevator, regardless of how good the elevator is.
Virus, have you been on a boat that's dock tied and it's just kind of going with the wake of the water when other boats go by? Have you been?
That's
Have you
horrible.
experienced that?
Yeah.
It's been about 15 plus years, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, but you
You
remember.
gotta get on a boat, son.
We don't have nothing. Ain't no water around me here in Dallas. I have to wait till I go back to Mississippi.
You don't have water parks.
Well, we have like what's it, Hurricane Harbor type water parks?
Yeah.
With, with the water slides.
Well,
and
get
stuff,
get
not
yeah,
nothing
but get
like
on
a
an inner
lake.
tube and go through one of those rides. And what do you feel?
I haven't been in about 15 plus years.
But what did you feel 15 years ago?
Myself
Did you feel
about to
motion?
drown.
Did you
I
feel
couldn't swim
motion?
back then.
No, but did you feel
I don't-
motion? Were you going side to side? Were you going backwards, forwards? Were you going up and down on that inner tube?
I'm gonna tell you, my whole experience left once I hit that 12-foot water and I couldn't swim.
Oh, it's a traumatic event I'm bringing up.
All right, this is very interesting. Yeah, you can go look that up and get back with us. I got another one.
Yeah,
Did you see that? Did you see that? The stationary drone footage from the inertial reference frame, and it was showing the stars and the moon moving from the inertial reference frame.
No, I haven't, but I think that's what that's how I pictured it should be. Talking about if a drone is just hovering over the land and not really going nowhere relative to the land.
Yeah, it's just stationary, and it's looking up at it's a time lapse of the moon and some of the stars.
Yeah,
That's what you would
it's
expect.
supposed to. Yeah,
Really?
that's just like
How would you
that's just like
expect that?
you. That's just like you being on the earth and looking.
No.
at the
How can
stars.
it be like me being on the earth when the drone's not on the earth? How are those equivalent?
Because it's moving with the earth, just like you're
Oh,
moving with
the
the earth.
atmosphere is moving with the earth. Welcome to Flat Earth.
No. I had asked the question that is the drone hovering in place, like not moving relative to the ground? It was like, yeah, it's not moving.
Yeah.
So it's in place just like you would be.
Yeah, it's not moving, just like the Earth's not moving. See, in your little model there, from the inertial reference frame, they shouldn't be moving. Because the Earth is supposed to be moving, not them. But they're moving from the inertial reference frame.
Okay, if you put an X on the ground, have the hovering, have it hovering over that X and stay over that X, then it should look just like the way we look at everything.
Oh, really? I don't think you understand your model.
No, it's supposed to.
No, I mean, I understand it, but it's staying over the X.
Okay, so like when you assert from the globe point of view that snipers have to account for Coriolis deviation, that'd be to draw a line of X's between you and your target, and the assertion is that when the gun leaves the rifle, the X's drift because Earth's turning underneath the bullet, because it's not attached anymore. That's the assertion. Same with a football. You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson says it goes through the goal because the Earth turned underneath it, because it's not attached anymore. Well, likewise, the drone isn't attached anymore and should have Earth turning underneath it, as it's asserted to do. We're supposed to see it have Coriolis drift, but we don't. Earth's not turning under it.
Well, from the globe side, it would be because it's hovering in place over the X and not moving relative to that X.
So no Coriolis then.
Well,
so no Coriolis then.
Hold on.
Virus. Virus. So no Coriolis effect then.
Not on your model.
We're talking about globe and it having Coriolis effect as Earth turns underneath, though, and we don't have Coriolis effect as you're now pointing out.
Okay. According to the globe claim, that hovering drone shouldn't experience Coriolis.
Well, drones don't experience Coriolis. We observe Coriolis as we turn underneath stuff, so we should be watching it drift away. That's what Coriolis is. Don't you understand what Coriolis is? The drone doesn't experience Coriolis. It's a visual effect. We observe it from the ground.
Well, when I say that, I mean the drone shouldn't be drifting, apparently, because it's hovering in place.
So we shouldn't see Coriolis effect, then? Yeah, welcome to Flat Earth. Yeah, we shouldn't see Coriolis because Earth's not turning.
That's according to the globe. I don't know what it...
No, according to the globe, there should be drift. 15 degrees an hour of it as we turn underneath to observe things drifting away. That's what should happen on a globe. Don't you understand what should happen on a globe? You should have 15 degrees an hour of drift. But the drone goes up, the stars continue moving, and the drone isn't drifting. You're not watching it drift away from the ground, staying in the exact same position. No drift. No Coriolis effect, then.
That's expected on the globe.
No, it's 15 degrees an hour that's expected. Right. So the stars won't move then. It's not expected that the stars move with 15 degrees an hour deviation then. So you're saying the stars won't move.
Are the stars hovering in place?
Sorry, that's drift. That's what's supposed to happen, right? Stars moving because Earth's turning underneath them. That's Coriolis drift. Now, we give the example with the drone and you say it's expected not to drift. What, like the stars aren't drifting?
What is it drifting away from?
Sorry, you just told me it's not expected to drift. So what are the stars doing now?
Not drifting from...
Yeah, they are, you stupid twat. You've started this by explaining about how the stars are moving. Yeah, well, that's drift. But you're saying it's not expected in the drone. That's a contradiction.
Yeah, that's not what... I don't think that's what they call drift or deviation.
What, the stars moving because Earth turns underneath them? That's drift. Well, the drone would move as you turned underneath it. That's drift. Same thing.
I think when they mean drift or deviation, they mean away from its original path.
It means you're moving underneath it.
No, but I'm saying...
What do you mean, no? Yeah, that's what Coriolis is. You moving underneath stuff not attached. That's what Coriolis is. Not nah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going against that. What I'm saying...
Yeah, you are. You're saying we wouldn't expect it on a globe. Yeah, but the stars are doing it? That's a contradiction. You are going against that when you say we wouldn't expect it. The drone not having Earth turn underneath at 15 degrees an hour is expected. You're just wrong. Because the stars are doing that, you stupid idiot.
Okay, that's fine. But
no, it's not. It's cognitive dissonance now. because you've got both positions laid out to you. Stars moving because Earth is claimed to turn underneath 15 degrees an hour, but when the drone doesn't do it, you're not expecting to see it.
Now, when they say drift or like deviation, I think.
Yeah, that means you turn under it.
No,
Yeah! Like you turn under the stars that are supposed to be moving because you turn under them. Back to cognitive dissonance again. Should we do this 10 times?
But they're not drifting away from their...
Oh, so the stars don't move at 15 degrees an hour then? Earth not turning, they're stationary in the sky, right? Not drifting like you'd expect.
No, I think you're...
Oh, no, so you do expect them to move at 15 degrees an hour, but you don't expect the drone to do that. So that's a contradiction then.
No, that is...
Yeah, it is, yeah. That's a contradiction. One thing you claim as Earth turning underneath it, the other you says you wouldn't expect it. That's a blatant contradiction. Chuckle for me, Fundy. That's right. Now lay out your cognitive pain for me. You can't have it both ways. You can't have Earth turning underneath the stars at 15 degrees an hour and then tell me how you wouldn't expect that to happen under a drone. It's a contradiction.
Okay, so...
Not okay. It's your Fundy faith getting ripped to shreds.
Are the stars hovering in place?
No, they move, but it clearly isn't Earth moving underneath because it would move underneath the drone, something you say we wouldn't expect to see, leaving you in a contradiction.
So if they ain't hovering in place, but the drone is, how are they correlated?
They're not. Earth is not turning.
Okay, I don't care about you believing it, but how are you...
No, by demonstration. If Earth was turning, things would drift away at 15 degrees an hour, like you claim the stars do, but then tell us we wouldn't expect it. That's just a contradiction. Not my belief, your contradiction.
What he's trying to tell you is that the drone is keeping pace with the Earth. That's what he's trying to say.
Well, no Coriolis
so he's
then.
saying it's not stationary, it's moving with the moving Earth.
Well, then no Coriolis drift.
I mean, if it's hovering above the same spot on the Earth, the globe doesn't expect to see Coriolis drift.
Oh, so why are the stars moving?
It's not hovering in the same
so
spot.
Globe says no drift. According to Virus and his current statement, his current position is Earth not turning underneath drone. Why do the stars move?
Earth rotation.
So Earth's turning underneath them then. So Earth turning under stars, Earth not expected to turn under drone. Does this compute? Hello?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, it doesn't sound about right. It sounds absolutely nonsensical because it's a complete contradiction.
Neither one of them are Coriolis.
No, Coriolis is you seeing things drift because you're turning. In this example, you're absolutely right. Neither are Coriolis. Earth is not turning. Welcome to Flat Earth. You're absolutely right. Neither of them are Coriolis. That's right.
That would be
that would be you embarrassing yourself at the hands of a flat earther. That's right. Yeah, laugh it up.
That would be
a complete contradiction that's been highlighted to you by a flat earther. That's right. Laugh it up.
That's I don't mind that. That's fine.
Oh, so, you're happy that Earth is claimed to have Coriolis deviation. It's claimed Earth turns underneath snipers, bullets, footballs, and the stars. Yet when we point out that doesn't happen with a drone, you say it's not expected to happen, and then simultaneously tell us it's the cause of the stars moving. But that's all good by you.
Do you think?
Do you stutter much?
10 degrees.
Do you stutter much? Yeah, you're in a contradiction. Do you want to explain why you're contradicting yourself with Earth turning underneath stars, but Earth not turning underneath drones, even though it's supposed to?
Because neither one of those are Coriolis.
Yeah, we know. Earth's not turning. If it was, it would be Coriolis, and it isn't, as you rightly identify. Not turning underneath. Earth not turning underneath to give Coriolis. That's right. Neither are Coriolis, as claimed by the Globe virus.
Even if Earth was turning...
What, so you're going to flagrantly beg the question with an even if it was turning?
Yeah, neither one of those would still be Coriolis.
Yeah, Earth would be giving you a Coriolis effect if it was turning, as it's asserted to do. But when we point out that it doesn't, you tell us you're not expecting that to happen. Contradiction, mate.
The Globe claim, this is the Globe claim. If the Earth was spinning, neither one of those should be experiencing Coriolis.
That is Coriolis, you dumbo. That is Coriolis.
Well, I'm sorry. That's the globe plane. Take it up with them.
You're claiming neither is claimed to be caused by Earth turning underneath. Welcome to Flat Earth.
I'm saying no. I'm saying neither of those are Coriolis.
Yeah, welcome to Flat Earth, given that both are claimed to have Coriolis deviation because it's claimed Earth turns underneath them. So welcome to Flat Earth. Well done.
Well, I think that will be your claim, not the globe claim.
Oh, my bad. I claim Coriolis deviation at 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath drones, helicopters, bullets, hot air balloons, aeroplanes, and the stars. I claim that, do I? Oh, my bad.
You claim that what happened on a globe. The globe doesn't claim that.
Oh, the globe doesn't claim Coriolis effect. Why do we keep getting told that it does claim Coriolis drift then? Why did you tell us earlier that the Earth's turning under the stars then? You claim it, you idiot.
That you can call me an idiot all you want.
Yeah, you're telling me Earth isn't turning underneath to cause Coriolis effect with the star movements, the apparent deviation because it's claimed Earth turns underneath. You're telling me Earth doesn't claim that, making you an idiot.
I'm saying the globe does not claim.
Yeah, we know the globe doesn't claim that it's got a Coriolis effect. Yeah, the globe does claim it's got Coriolis, you idiot.
Yeah, I didn't say.
Yeah, that makes you an idiot. Yeah, it does claim Coriolis on the globe, mate. You're just wrong.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. You're wrong. I'm right. You're an idiot. Yeah, laugh it up. Another time a flat earth has embarrassed you with your lack of comprehension of Coriolis deviation and what the globe claims. That's right. Globes claim to turn underneath the stars to cause apparent deflection. That's Coriolis effect. Something you're denying, you moron.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Oh,
you should be. You should be. It is embarrassing to be a globehead.
I'm not. It's not whatsoever.
Can I ask that question, Nathan?
Yeah.
Hey, Virus.
Go ahead.
Virus. I'm interested to know what you define Coriolis as, but let me ask my question. Can Coriolis effect be experienced if the Earth was not turning?
No.
Okay, so the only way to experience Coriolis is by your confession a few minutes ago that the Earth is rotating, correct?
Yes, you need to have a rotating surface or a rotating body in order to Coriolis.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got those two squared away. Define Coriolis. What is it? The globe definition?
I don't know what the actual globe says. I'm just going to tell you how I learned it, which was basically the apparent drift that comes from a different, I guess, a change in speed of the land underneath it, which makes it seem like the Earth is rotating underneath the Earth is moving underneath the projectile at a different speed from when it left the barrel, which causes a.
But isn't that what Nathan is saying?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much yeah.
Yeah, you're also simultaneously denying that happens or that that's what globe claims.
No.
Yeah, you're simultaneously describing now by definition what the globe claims Coriolis effect is. That's Earth turning underneath, stuff not attached. But you're also simultaneously saying that when it's claimed Earth turns under stars, that's not Coriolis. The globe doesn't claim that. That's what you're also saying. Simultaneously holding mutually exclusive positions. That's both a contradiction and your demonstration of cognitive dissonance.
If you include what I said at first, then that wouldn't happen. If you heard what I said at first to add on to what he repeated, then you will understand why that's not a.
That was the most convoluted cluster screw of nonsense I've ever heard.
Okay.
Man.
It wasn't.
What did you say at first?
Okay, it wasn't.
What did you say at first?
It wasn't a contradiction because I said that it has to be moving over the land. So if something is not moving, like if it's hovering or something, the globe does not see Coriolis.
Well, hang on, Virus. You just said that your definition of Coriolis was an apparent deviation based on the Earth turning underneath it. So if it's moving with the Earth, where's the deviation?
You gotta include the rest of the stuff I said too.
Like
no,
what?
There is no
like
extra
what?
stuff. As I said when he said that. So no Coriolis then, correct, 10th man? That would leave him with no Coriolis effect.
No, it won't.
Yeah, he's just switching. Look, listen, this is what you're doing. You're saying the thing is supposed to be moving above, and we're saying, well, no, the Earth is supposed to be turning underneath. We're saying the same thing. It's just from your perspective, the thing is not moving in the sky. You're just assuming that it's moving with what you assume to be the Earth that's also moving.
No, it starts moving, and then you expect to see Coriolis. It's not it stands still and you think it's moving and then it spins Coriolis.
No.
That's not how Coriolis works. The object has to be moving.
It does
Can
not.
I ask Hoyer something?
Go ahead,
Well, let me
Brian.
finish, Brian. Let me finish. So then you just admitted that the object is moving and the Earth is stationary. That's when you experience
No,
Coriolis.
I did
That's
not
what
say
you
the
just
Earth was
admitted.
stationary. Not once did I say that.
No, you just said that to experience Coriolis, it has to be moving, and you weren't referencing the Earth.
Yeah, I also didn't say one of them had to be still either. What?
Well, so then you're saying they're both moving at the same time, so there is no Coriolis then.
It has to be like that, man. You have a spinning body, so when you take a projectile off at 1,000 miles per hour north, the land is going to end up going over. It's going to be moving less than that 1,000 miles an hour, which is going to make it seem to deviate to the right or east in that matter
Because Earth's turning underneath it.
at a slower speed than
But that would be Earth turning underneath it now. So when you said
at a
Earth
slower
not
speed.
turning underneath the drone, why are you talking through me? So back to the contradiction. So your description includes Earth turning underneath stuff then, because it's not attached anymore.
You're making it a contradiction.
You're saying Earth turns underneath. That's what you've just described. You're now saying that's not what you've just described. You're going to describe something completely contradictory and say that's what you've actually said when you've just said, yeah, there's a speed change because Earth's turning underneath. That's what you've just said. So that means Earth would be turning underneath stuff not attached then. Right, Virus?
That's a piece of what I said, not everything of what
Oh, so is Earth turning underneath stuff not attached, according to you?
Depends. When you jump
Oh,
up
it
in
depends. So it depends. No. If stuff deviates because we have Coriolis effect, it deviates because it's got Earth turning underneath it. That either happens or it doesn't. It doesn't depend. You either observe it or you don't.
It depends.
All right. What's it
If you-
dependent on? And I'll
Okay.
need a citation.
Okay. No, it's not that. Okay, I'm gonna give you two examples. You jumping in the air. You're detaching yourself. So you say detaching yourself from the Earth, but you land in the same spot. Obviously, Earth is.
That's not Coriolis effect. If I jump up and down on a roundabout, I won't land on the same spot. That's not Coriolis effect. You don't know what Coriolis is.
Yeah, but if you jump on a roundabout, that's not Coriolis either.
Observing the person seem to drift from the roundabout is Coriolis effect. You've just described a man
No,
jumping
yeah.
up and down, now you're talking through me, and not drifting.
What intended path is it drifting from?
Right, drift. You've said that Earth is claimed to turn underneath stuff. It doesn't turn under the drone. Let's get to the crux of the argument. You're saying Earth isn't expected to turn under the drone. You've also just given a description that can only come to pass if Earth's turning underneath stuff, something I've got you to concede. So you've got both Earth turning underneath stuff, and we wouldn't expect Earth to turn underneath this here drone. You see, you've got both positions at the same time there, Virus.
Yeah, one is hovering. One I said needs to be moving. You have a hovering drone, we shouldn't expect to see Coriolis over.
Oh, I see. So if your drone starts moving, that will affect whether or not Earth turns underneath it, even though it's left that reference frame, has no contact with it. But if it starts moving a little bit north, Earth will start turning underneath it. So it's dependent on hovering. Earth starts turning underneath when you move in a given direction. Do you realise how stupid that is?
But that's why I said his argument is that the drone is moving with the Earth.
No, he's just said if it moves in a particular direction, Earth will be turning underneath it. So according to him, a drone takes off, and so long as it hovers, Earth will turn with it. But then as soon as it starts moving in a given direction, Earth starts turning underneath it. So how on the equator would a drone, when it's hovering, negate 1,000 miles an hour drift? Do drones have the capability of keeping up with the Earth until they start moving north? That's preposterous.
Why would it have 1,000 miles an hour drift?
Oh, because that's Coriolis effect. Earth turning underneath it at the given rate the equator would have 1,000 miles an hour. So your drone would go up, and then the Earth is claimed to turn underneath it 1,000 miles an hour to give you Coriolis deviation. Something you say simultaneously isn't expected because you've got a contradiction on your hands.
Yeah, because that's not how Coriolis.
Coriolis is merely the effect of things seeming to drift because you're turning underneath them.
No.
Yeah, that's what Coriolis is.
No, because then we could say a lamppost, you running by a lamppost would be Coriolis.
No, you have to be on a non-inertial spinning reference frame, like a roundabout. And when on that roundabout, and it looks like the roundabout, it looks like the lamppost is coming towards you when it's concreted into the ground, that's not actual drift of a concreted lamppost because you're turning underneath it. In other words, from your vantage point spinning underneath it, it seems to be moving, even though it's concreted into the ground.
Moving, not drifting.
Yeah, drifting. Yeah, the lamppost seems to move. That's apparent drift. Something we would observe on an Earth that's turning, and it's claimed we do. And when we point out that it doesn't happen under a drone, you tell us that you wouldn't expect it to happen. So we wouldn't expect 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth underneath. That would be Coriolis effect. Then, that's what you're saying. Both positions simultaneously, Virus.
It's pretty much the same as that lamppost.
Oh, right. So if the lamppost is in fixed position, not moving in any direction, it will track with the roundabout, even though it's concreted into the ground. So from a playground roundabout, you think that you won't see any drift in the lamppost because, what, it's fixed space and moving with the roundabout? Like your hovering drone nonsense? Yeah, it will drift because you're moving underneath it. The only reason it drifts is because you're moving underneath it. That is Coriolis effect, and it is claimed that we turn underneath stuff not attached, like drones. And when we point out that that doesn't happen, you tell us it's not expected, even though it absolutely is. You just hold both positions at the same time.
So what's the intended path of the lamppost?
It doesn't have one, but it seems to drift if you're on a roundabout, mate. That's called Coriolis effect. Something Earth's claimed to have. Just doesn't.
How can it drift away from something it doesn't have?
Because you're turning underneath it on a roundabout. So it appears to move when it's not. Because you're turning underneath it. So to have Coriolis, you've got to be turning underneath stuff. So we should be turning underneath drones. Because they're not attached anymore. Hello?
So it's drifting away from something it doesn't have because you're turning underneath it. That doesn't make sense.
That's Coriolis effect. If it doesn't make sense, it's because you don't understand Coriolis. It's not actual deflection caused by you observing something from a non-inertial spinning reference frame. That is about as concise as you can get for a description of Coriolis effect. It is what Coriolis effect is, and is what Earth is claimed to have. That's us turning underneath stuff to see it appear to drift. Not because drones can fly away at 1,000 miles an hour, because when they take off a claim to be spinning Earth, you turn underneath it at 1,000 miles an hour to have apparent deviation. Drone hovering, you moving away from it. Likewise, a lamppost attached to the ground isn't attached to the spinning roundabout. So when you spin on the roundabout, the lamppost appears to move, even though it's stationary and it's in fact you moving underneath. Well, that would have to be directly translatable to a spinning Earth. That is to say, if Earth was spinning, we'd have Coriolis deflection. And when we point out that we don't, you tell us we wouldn't expect to see Coriolis drift. And then tell us how you don't understand it, or it doesn't make sense when it's defined.
Yeah, not in your example, because that's not what the global claim was Coriolis.
Yeah, because the globe nonsense doesn't have that effect. That effect is easy to describe from a roundabout with a lamppost concreted into the ground, not spinning with you on the roundabout. That is Coriolis effect. Now, your claim of globe having it simultaneously comes with an example that says we wouldn't expect to see it.
Because that's not Coriolis.
You don't know what Coriolis effect is. Not actual deflection observed from a non-inertial spinning reference frame.
That is not... The lamppost is not what a globe would say experiences Coriolis.
No, they say it's experienced from things not attached to a non-inertial spinning sphere Earth.
No, it just comes from the eyes moving around and around and around. It has nothing to do with the lamppost is deviating from its intended path.
It doesn't have an intended path. It's a lamppost.
Exactly. So it can't deviate from its intended path.
Oh, in that case, so when you watch it from a roundabout, it moves with you on the roundabout, does it?
Yeah, it looks like it spins.
Oh, it looks like it's moving when it's concreted into the ground.
It's not
Yeah, looks like. That's apparent deflection. Yeah, that's Coriolis.
It's not a deviation from its.
So it is moving with you on the roundabout, that concreted into the ground lamppost that's not spinning with you. It moves with you, not deflecting, right?
It doesn't have an intended path.
Yeah, so the path is with you on the spinning roundabout then, right? It doesn't look like it's moving because you're turning underneath it, observing Coriolis effect. It actually moves with you then.
It looks like it's not deviating from its intended path.
It doesn't have an intended path, you clown. Third time. It's a lamppost. Where do you think it's going?
Nowhere. That's why.
Right. So what the hell are you babbling about an intended path?
Because you keep mentioning drift and deviation.
No, not at all. I can describe how it seems to move from a roundabout because I'm turning underneath it.
It's not deviating or drifting.
Yeah, it is exactly doing that. It seems like it's moving from my point of view. I'm turning underneath it on a roundabout. That's Coriolis effect. An effect we claim to have on globe Earth.
It might seem like it's moving, but it's not drifting or deviating.
Oh, so what is it doing then? Moving with the roundabout, you utter clown?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not drifting. It's moving with me. Fixed stationary from my vantage point as I spin with it.
It's
not deviating from no path.
Deviation means actual deviation.
Yeah, it doesn't understand.
The deviation, the Coriolis is an apparent deviation.
Correct. Not actual drift. I.e., lamppost doesn't have to move, it just has to seem like it moves because you turn underneath it. He doesn't understand the difference between actual, because he's assigning directional motion to the projectile and saying it's attributable to the Coriolis deflection we will observe from the ground as things seem to do things they're not doing. Like the lamppost seems to move because I turn underneath it. Well, likewise, the drone would seem to move as I turned underneath it if Earth was spinning. It just doesn't.
Well, it seems like he's purposely trying to make it seem like his only point is that the lampposts aren't moving. Well, what about the stars? What was your answer to that?
Could I attack this from a different angle?
Yeah, go on, Brian. Feel free.
You're going to try to reason with him?
No. I just think I'm just going to try something that I think might work, because we keep on arguing the Coriolis effect with people on the globe side who are constantly talking about the conservation of angular momentum. So, Virus, you know what the conservation of angular momentum is, don't you?
Yeah, what about it?
I think that is a yes, yeah?
Yeah, what about it?
Yeah. So, you know, on a children's roundabout, if I'm standing on a roundabout and it's spinning around, and you remember those jetpacks, they used to have them in the 1980s, where you could put a jetpack on you and it would make you fly. You could go a little straight up in the air. There'd be a jet underneath at the back of you, come out of the pack. If I had a jetpack and I'm spinning around on the roundabout, and I have a jetpack and I lift myself 2 feet off the roundabout, will I keep moving around with that roundabout because of the conservation of angular momentum?
Nah, you shouldn't. If you took straight up into the air, you might move a little bit with it, but you're going to stop. You're not going to keep going with it.
So that will rotate underneath me then, is what you're saying. If I go up high enough, if I go up, that will rotate underneath me, basically.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's a merry-go-round. So, yeah.
Yeah. So if I do the same thing on the earth and if I have a jetpack on, I lift myself up 2 feet off of the earth, will the earth rotate underneath me then?
Okay, so what's the difference between you spinning on the earth and you spinning on a merry-go-round?
We don't spin on Earth. That's the difference.
No difference.
On a roundabout, you see things deviating because you're spinning. We just don't see that on Earth, so they're not really comparable because Earth isn't spinning.
Okay, so
Virus, do you understand? Do you understand that you can't claim the conservation of angular momentum in one situation and then not in the other? If the Earth was rotating,
can you answer my question real quick?
And you're 1 second, Virus. If the Earth was rotating, then When I lift off with a jetpack, if the conservation of angular momentum keeps me moving with that rotating Earth, then the same exact thing should happen with the children's roundabout. But you're after just stating that that doesn't happen and wouldn't happen. So when you lift off the Earth and it doesn't rotate underneath you, that's because it's not rotating.
Can you answer my question that I asked, please?
Go on, ask me again there, sorry.
What do you feel that's different when you're spinning on that roundabout compared to when you're standing on the Earth? What's one thing that you feel?
Movement.
What do you feel against your face?
I just feel movement. When I'm on the roundabout, I can feel movement. I can feel dizzy. I feel movement when I'm standing on the roundabout. I don't feel that on the Earth. When I'm not on the roundabout, when I'm standing on the solid Earth, I don't feel that.
You don't feel air hitting your face?
If I could jump ahead, so when you take the drone off of the ground,
Elijah, please, just one
if
second.
you take the drone, look, because all right.
Hang on, one second. I know. Just give me a minute. I am on the roundabout. I feel movement. When I'm not on it, I don't feel movement.
Yeah, so there's going to be a slight difference in what you should expect if you're on a jetpack and you lift up off of the merry-go-round after feeling all that wind hitting your face from spinning around on that, compared to being on the ground, not feeling no wind, and then trying to do the same thing.
What in the world?
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
What if you got a face mask? Hold on. What if you got a face mask on?
Okay,
this is really pertinent.
That wind that's not hitting your face now is still hitting the mask, so it's still the
what has wind got to do with the conservation of angular momentum?
What does the mask have to do with anything?
Virus is asking you what this has to do with the conservation of momentum. When in his example, after the guy leaves the roundabout, the guy observing him on the roundabout just sees him spinning and moving, even though he's hovering above it. So this is
the calm air from the Earth could.
But hang on, what has wind got to do with the conservation of angular momentum?
Air?
Yeah, when you're like standing on the ground and you don't feel no wind, that could be implied that the Earth is moving in the air or moving together. Compared to being on the merry-go-round, when you're spinning around, you can feel the wind. You can feel the wind in your face.
So we could have a windy day. I mean, it has nothing to do with the conservation of angular momentum.
It has to do with a lot of why you lifted up.
You agreed on the roundabout. If I lifted off the roundabout with the jetpack. With the railroad rotate underneath me.
He's talking through you.
I know.
He's talking through you, dude.
I know.
Did he hear me?
When you say virus, say what you're going to say.
I said, but that's really the main difference between the roundabout, you getting all the air resistance, and not getting no air resistance when you're standing on like dirt on the ground.
But air resistance has nothing to do with the conservation of angular momentum. Wind, you could have a windy day. There could be in a storm. You could be standing in a storm. That'd be a lot worse than being on a merry-go-round. But wind has nothing to do with it.
The same
if there's a
principle
storm
that
happening and I jump up in the air, will I keep moving with? Will I like? Does the Earth? Will I keep moving with a supposed rotating Earth because of the conservation of angular momentum? It has nothing to do with it. There's no wind, weather has not wind, weather, any of that has not to do with the conservation of angular momentum. The conservation of angular momentum is about movement. It's about the retention of momentum in a direction.
Yeah, and even if you stay with
you'd have to be rotating. So this argument doesn't have anything to do with the conservation of angular momentum to begin with. We already discussed this about 2 months ago. So you're all confused.
I have a question. If there's conservation of momentum, how do you get any deviation?
You don't. Precisely.
It goes straight.
No, I know you don't. I'm asking that to Buddy. So if he's claiming conservation of momentum is what evidence is for Coriolis, but there's no. How do you measure deviation if there's conservation of momentum? There has to be some sort of separation here.
The speed of the land.
You understand?
And then you're going to have to define which momentum you're conserving, linear or angular.
Sorry, just do you understand this question, Virus? He's asking if you've got momentum being conserved from the spinning non-inertial reference frame, how do you have any deviation at all, ever, i.e. deflection, Coriolis effect? How do you have it if it's conserving momentum?
Speed of the land. That's what I just said.
No.
So the speed of the land, but yet there is no deviation because you have conservation of momentum. It sounds like doublespeak, bro.
No, the projectile.
So how do you measure deviation if the speed is conserving momentum?
If what is conserving momentum?
The projectile.
Well, you just said speed, right? So if the speed is what's conserving momentum, how do you measure deviation? Because there's got to be a force. There's got to be a force causing the deviation, but you're saying there is no deviation, therefore conservation of momentum.
There is no real deviation. The projectile is going straight.
Welcome to Flat Earth. So no 15 degrees an hour deviation, virus. Well done. You've just relinquished the claim we have Coriolis deflection.
No, I didn't.
Yes, that's precisely what you just did. My God, they're so laden with cognitive dissonance. It's unreal. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, maybe joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.